Okay, 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 okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike and Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you wanna support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shields. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike and Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.
In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord, saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then said I, Here am I. Send me. And he said, Go, and tell this people, Hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert, and be healed. Then said I, Lord, how long? And he answered, Until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate, and the Lord have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tent, and it shall return, and shall be eaten. As a teil tree, and as an oak, whose substance.
Hello. Welcome to Toronto Bible Study. I'm your host, Mike Sarpatz. Hey, what's up, Glory? How are you, man? I wasn't gonna do a stream, but then somebody posted this thing from Joe Rogan. I was like, wow, I can't believe they're playing this. Because this thing that I'm gonna watch right now is like, I mean, obviously we know about this stuff already, but the fact that Rogan is playing this, it shows that there's something like, I don't know, man. I swear, like, they're releasing more and more information. They're letting people talk about more and more things that they never used to. You know, I don't know what the deal is with it, but it's interesting. Anyway, let's check this out. So, sorry, I'm not gonna say a prayer today. Or I'll say a prayer. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, Father, May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable unto you, O God, our rock and our redeemer. Father, we're about to look at this video with Joe Rogan and Dr. Suzanne Humphries. Help us to see the truth of your word, Father. Help us to see the lies of the devil. We ask all this in the name of your holy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, so let's check this out. See that? See this guy with this eyeball thing? Wicked, man. These guys are wicked. But I don't know what the deal is, why they're bringing this person to talk about this right now, but anyway, let's find out.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
All right, you just said something that's like very important. You can't be dogmatic when you're talking about vaccines or about anything.
Yes, it is good to keep an open mind, isn't it? And be flexible and look at a 360-degree view of things rather than your tunnel vision and what you're indoctrinated into, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially if you know that that indoctrination has been on purpose and profitable. And, you know, one of the great things about your book is, first of all, your book's called Dissolving Illusions. I know I've talked about it on the podcast a bunch of times, but you also highlight a lot of things that we know are beneficial that somehow or another get lumped into nonsense, like even cinnamon.
Yeah, cinnamon is a powerful herb, actually, and it's known to be helpful in glucose handling for a lot of diabetics taking it in capsule form now. I noticed at the end of my nephrology career that a lot of my own patients were taking cinnamon capsules, but it also has a lot of vitamin C in it. And I think that was probably one of the keys. A lot of those old remedies that we wrote about, the magic in them probably was the vitamin C in them.
I dismissed all that stuff as total nonsense. I was like, oh, that's hippie nonsense, like echinacea, like get out of here. It's hippie nonsense.
You know what they might be trying to do? They're trying to like they know people are onto the vaccine thing, so maybe they're trying to like they're gonna let people know about the vaccine thing, and people will get rid of vaccines, but they'll keep the virus thing and all those things. That way, people will still be on the hook. You know. I don't know. Anyway,
garlic, come on, get out of here. But then the more I've read things, especially like garlic is incredible for staph infections for some reason.
It is, and it doesn't develop drug resistance like a lot of the drugs that are engineered for it. Yeah, the hippies seem to have got it right, I think.
Well, it just that whole idea of natural remedies is so just universally dismissed by
yeah, maybe that's what they're gonna try to do, move the health industry over to supplements and stuff, maybe. But they're still keeping alive this virus thing. The virus thing is, I think the viruses are fake. I don't believe in viruses anymore because they don't have much science for it, you know. Let's see where they're going with this.
Non-silly people. You know, when you say natural remedies, that's great. If you have a heart attack, go to a doctor, stupid. You know, that's generally people's appeal to authority.
Right.
But it's the doctors should be recommending those things too. Like they're good too. Like vitamin D, bro? Super important. You know, vitamin A, super important. And one of the things that you talked about in the book is that I think this was really important when you were talking about the measles vaccine. You were saying that either if you get an infection with measles, just a natural infection, or if you get the vaccine, you're still going to get depleted of vitamin A. Like if you get vaccinated for the measles, you should be taking
Yeah, you're the only. Yeah, it's just me, you, and Glory, bro. It's okay. I mean, I was gonna watch it anyway. I watched some of it, so I said, "All right, I might as well do a live while I watch it." But this is good for like I think my viewers are aware of the conspiracies, so it's good to watch this type of thing. But I just be aware that this guy's a shill, and she's probably a shill also. So this is not like they're trying to inform us; they're trying to further disinform us. But there's something going on here, man. I don't know. It's interesting though.
vitamin A as well. Your
That's
body's
right.
going to get depleted just by getting that shot. They don't tell you that.
No, they don't tell you anything, just Tylenol, which actually makes the vaccine not work as well, in addition to causing all kinds of immunological disturbances at the time that you're supposed to be upregulating your immune system against this dreaded disease. Yeah, but one of the things about the recommended by the the white coats and the authorities is that the public believes that so many drugs and remedies are standardized that the conventional medical system gives out. And when you go to actually look at them, and this includes vaccines, even though they're standardized, meaning that the manufacturers are told what the regulations should be in terms of production, when people go and look at them, they find it's anything but standardized. It's very variable, which is why we see such variability in the results when people receive them. That's only one reason why there's so much variability.
And do you think it's the immunity to any legal consequences that has allowed them to sort of operate like this?
Well, we certainly saw an explosion of their creativity since 1986. So actually in 1986, you're referring to the National Child Vaccine Injury Act that was passed in 1986. But before 1986, we had 1976, which was the swine flu vaccine fiasco. And that was a situation where there was so much injury that the vaccine producing companies were no longer able to get insurance. And so they went to the government and they said, we need you to indemnify us. And they did. And so the government absorbed all the lawsuit cases that happened as a result of the Guillain-Barré that happened from then. And so that kind of set a precedent for 1986. So back then, vaccines were just kind of, pieces of microbe or maybe a live attenuated virus. And then they would put a background of all kinds of horrid things inside of it and tell you it was just a clear, beautiful, pure solution. But that's beside the point. So then 1986 comes along, and because there's so many lawsuits happening because of the diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus vaccine, that again, the vaccine companies couldn't continue to go on the way they were because they were being sued so much. So then this horrible act was passed, which to some people seemed like a good idea. And this is always how it goes: is we're going to make you this promise. Yes, we're gonna cover all the lawsuits now out of taxes, but it's going to be okay because we're going to pay out these lawsuits, and you're going to be fine. If your kid takes one for the team, you're going to be okay. And what happens is after they get their foot in the door, they narrow down the they basically have a kangaroo court that decides if you're eligible. And so the qualification tables got narrowed down because in the beginning they were paying out so much of this. So not only did it make the vaccine companies very, very wealthy and indemnified, but as you alluded to just a minute ago, the creativity of the vaccine companies expanded. So after that, they could add different, what we call adjuvants, things that stimulate the immune system so the vaccine works better. That's why we're able to be in a messenger RNA vaccine situation today, which that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for this indemnification. That, the vaccine trials have always been a bit of a joke, but they're even more of a joke today than they were in the beginning. We've never seen a vaccinated, unvaccinated study that is accepted by the powers that be as good enough. The vaccinated, unvaccinated studies that they use another vaccine for. You probably know that. So if you're testing a measles vaccine, you could test it against a diphtheria vaccine, or a flu shot vaccine is tested against a hepatitis A vaccine. There's no saline placebo because the few studies that exist with saline placebos show how bad the vaccine actually is and how it makes you not only not respond to the disease when it comes around, but more susceptible to it in many cases.
Have there been any instances where vaccines have been helpful?
The question of the century, isn't it? Okay, now we have to back up a minute.
Wow, you see that, man? I can't, you know what? The other few months ago, I said I said one thing about vaccines. Just one comment I made, and they took down my video. They took it down, man. The whole live, it was like a 3-hour live. I just said one comment about vaccines, took it down. Now this woman can say this on Joe Rogan. This is ridiculous. This is how you know it's like some kind of show thing. But anything on this guy's show is shillery.
The question of the century, isn't it? Okay, now we have to back up a minute because I had that same question, and I had to go dig deep to all the questions you have in your head right now. I had them too at one point. So here I am, a medical doctor working in the field, believing in pretty much everything I was told, giving hundreds, if not thousands, of vaccines out to my patients, hepatitis B vaccines in particular, flu shots for sure. I was a nephrologist, kidney specialist, and dialysis, etc. And initially, you know, we all kind of have an aversion to needles. I think it's a natural human aversion. So when we're kids, no one's going, oh, I want to go get my vaccines. We're like, you know, okay, fine, sore arm, you get over it. Most of us were lucky enough to get over it. So by the time the first instance of a problem occurred in front of my eyes, I was already a fully seasoned professor of medicine, you know, working in a tertiary care medical center. Okay. And so it's been a bit of a process, because for me, it was the influenza vaccines in 2008, 2009 that showed me without a doubt that vaccines can and do cause kidney failure and put people on dialysis. That does happen. It can cause hypertension. So we're not told to take a vaccine history in medical school. We're not told to even look there. It's not even part of, especially in adults. But when I did start looking there, I started to see more and more associations. Let's just put it that way. And so first I had to go down the flu vaccine bunny trail. And every time I went down that flu vaccine bunny trail, guess what I was asked? What about polio?
Right.
So I thought, all right, even though this has absolutely zero to do with polio, because I'm watching people crap out in front of me after influenza vaccines, let's see about polio. Because I knew very little about polio, just like most people walking around out there do, that, you know, it was invented by this guy named Jonas Salk and it saved humanity. We don't see these little crippled kids anymore. We don't have iron lungs anymore. Yay. Well, I would have to say that the polio bunny trail was the darkest one of all. And so after polio then became smallpox. And I thought, you know, we still have people walking the earth that have experienced the polio years. So I kind of like to stick to polio, because most of the smallpox, you know, people that would have been familiar with it are off the planet. But there's still some doctors around that'll talk about smallpox. Like a guy named Thomas Mack, who's probably close to 90, who was kind of ground zero in the 1940s and knows a lot about it, and still says we shouldn't be vaccinating for smallpox today. So then there was that. And then everyone and their dog was talking about autism. And I didn't really want to have anything to do with autism, because I was an adult doctor.
I think we should break down step by step. Like,
Yeah.
What about polio?
Yeah.
Everything starts with good health. That's why AG1 is a and for yourself. When you look at the historical timeline of polio, what do you think caused it to go to essentially not be a problem anymore?
Okay.
You don't think vaccinations had anything to do with that?
Well, it's not what I think, because that's the thing. Like, look, when I got into this, I didn't say, oh, you know, I want to argue that vaccines are great. I said, look, I don't care. I didn't have skin in the game. I didn't have vaccine injured kids. I couldn't have cared less about it, essentially, except that it was something in front of me and it didn't make sense. So I thought, wherever the truth falls, that's what I'm going to talk about. So what I say is that what the facts line up to show you is that polio is still here. Polio is still alive and well. Polio is called different things today. Whereas back in the 1940s, 1950s, the criteria for...
Hi, Mark. How are you? Sorry, we're just checking out this. This woman is an anti-vax doctor. And I was just shocked that Joe Rogan interviewed her. But I want to look at it because obviously, in my view, I think Joe Rogan's a shill, right? So I'm just like, why is this guy talking about this stuff? But I find that they've been releasing more sort of information. I think people are talking about stuff online, and then they see it, so they see where the wind's blowing, right? So they want to get out ahead of it. So they get their shills to do stuff like this. Then they're gonna make some changes with the vaccine stuff, you know. But we'll see.
For diagnosing polio were completely different to the year that the vaccine was
Chris,
introduced.
what's up, bro?
The playing field, the goalpost, everything was changed, so that despite the fact that there was more paralytic polio in the years after that vaccine was introduced, they were able to show a complete cascading drop of paralytic polio simply because of the way they changed the definitions of what polio is and what could cause it. And they started testing for the virus, where before they would never test for the virus. And when they started testing for the virus later, what they would find that people had Guillain-Barré syndrome, they didn't have virus, or they had Coxsackie virus.
I've heard of this woman years ago, and like this is when COVID was out, right? And then ever since then, I've been looking at stuff like this, right? Not looking at it hard, but at the time I was looking at it hard. and I heard about her. But she does appear to be a shell to me too. But it's just like the fact what she's saying right now, you're not even allowed to say this stuff on YouTube normally. I've said things like this, and they just took down my stream. So I don't know what's going on.
Virus or echovirus, or they were lead poisoned or mercury poisoned, which was the mercury and lead were the leading treatments of the day, including bloodletting. They were telling people to take your cigarette and put a little bit of arsenic in there. It's good for your lungs. Yeah. They were literally blowing smoke up people's butts like that. That's where the term comes from. Because if you want to Google that now, you'll see that there's an instrument that does it.
Yeah.
So, the polio story, where to even begin? And so there's about 70 pages. And so that became my obsession. So when people said, what about polio? And I started digging this up, I went deep into it.
Did you dive into pesticides?
Yes. You have to dive into pesticides because the tonnage of production of DDT absolutely mirrored the diagnosis for polio in the days. And the countries that still make DDT today is where we're still seeing this paralytic polio situation happen.
And also, weren't the first cases, did they break out in a rural community?
The first cases of polio, yes.
In the United States, paralytic polio.
Yes, it was out in the countryside. Well, and that was probably more because of the sheep and cow dipping. So arsenic, you have to look at arsenic. You have to look at the mercurials. You have to look at the calcium arsenate, lead arsenate sprays that were put on trees. But what you're talking about in particular, they would call the cow disease. They'd go out in the family, when you would go to the house, they'd say, all the kids have the cow disease, what the cows had before. Well, what were they doing? They would have this trenches. You talk to farmers, even today. Oh, yeah, we had trenches. We would just walk them straight through. And
Hey, Jen. Joe Rogan's the uber shill. Suzanne Humphries is like also probably a shill too. But it's interesting that they're letting her talk because normally I see stuff like she's saying right now, they take my stream down. Just one little comment I said a few months ago about this type of topic took my stream right off. But she's saying this stuff on Joe Rogan. So this is guaranteed some kind of shillery, but I just want to see it.
And I'd be soaked with the stuff by the end of the day.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they're basically soaking and bathing in arsenic, which
I think she's a show. Well, what's Truth Free saying? She's also not part of the global doctors New Agers. Interesting. Prior to Trump's inauguration in 2025, I got shut down for just showing the headline of a news article. Yeah, I know, exactly. I know, man. You can't even talk about this. These guys, this guy can talk about it. Because something's going on, man. I think what's going on is they're seeing people's, because they monitor social media, right? So they're seeing people talk about this more and more. They're watching, they know where the wind's blowing, they can see. They're trying to get out ahead of it. But whatever this is disinformation too. I think a big thing here, what she's gonna do is say the shots are bad, but she's not gonna talk about how virus science is kind of dumb too, you know, that type of thing. I'm thinking. We'll see. Many doctors who spill the beans are New Agers. Oh, she's not part of the New Agers thing? That's good. Oh, that's good. Thanks, Truth Freeze. What's up, Pickleball? Do you get it now or what?
which is great for killing fleas and ticks. But it's not really great for keeping your nervous system happy, because the fact of the matter is, and this again, I've got medical references, everything. I can't get away with making stuff up. Okay. I have to put a reference for everything, but arsenic causes the exact same spinal
I'm not sure I agree with this comment, Truth Freeze, but I'll hear her out. I'll listen to her. I mean, I'm aware of most of the stuff she's saying. I never read her book. I'm aware of her, and I'm aware of everything she's going to say in this podcast. I'm pretty sure. Like, everything she said so far, I'm aware of. But it's interesting. To me, it's just interesting that Joe Rogan is interviewing this woman, you know? That's what I don't understand.
Pathology that, and fevers and everything. It literally mimics what they were calling polio and a polio virus back in the day.
I read this crazy statistic, and I still can't believe it's real, that 95 to 99% of
she's like an anti-vax doctor, okay, and he's interviewing her, which is something that I don't understand, because, like I say, I just made one comment about vaccines and my other thing. It was kind of negative, right? So it took down my stream. But this guy with his 19 million subscribers, he can interview this woman who's like, this woman is considered like a complete heretic by most of the medical industry. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's see what's up.
Statistic, and I still can't believe it's real, that 95 to 99% of all polio is asymptomatic.
That's exactly right. So polio virus is what we call a commensal, just like you have staph on your skin and strep on your skin, and it actually serves a purpose. It keeps other microbes in check as long as you don't get a cut.
Hey, Truth Freeze, you know what I think? You know what I think's up? Just because Truth Freeze knows about this stuff. So Truth Freeze, what I think is going on is they're gonna expose the vaccine thing, but they're gonna leave us with the virus thing, which the virus thing is also probably fake too. You know, but they're gonna get rid of the vaccines probably over time, but they're gonna leave the virus thing. That's what I think is going on. We'll see, or maybe they're trying to start this thing where you have like half of society that's against all this stuff, and then half of society that's for it, like the leftists or whatever, and then they're just gonna create more and more conflict. Maybe that's what they're doing. I'm not sure. But whatever this is, she's probably a shill. I mean, like 99% she's probably a shill. Joe Rogan is certainly a shill. And so whatever they're doing here is shillery, you know?
And have not a good immune system to deal from the inside out. So polio, the reason I can say that polio is a commensal is because, again, there are medical studies that showed that people who dared to get on the edge of some of these wild native.
I bring a Bible everywhere I go, bro. Everywhere I go. I got my pocket Bible. I got my, anyway.
Tribes down in South America or elsewhere. But in particular, I'm talking about a South American tribe called the Javante Indians. So the Indian Health Service got to the edge of it and bargained that they would get some stool and some blood from the tribes so that they could test it for polio. And what they found was 98 to 99% of every person they tested, and it was hundreds of people, had evidence of immunity to all three strains of polio. And they said to them, well, where are all your crippled children? Where's your short legs? Where are the people that died of respiratory failure? And they were like, we don't have any of that problem. So it was well known.
Could it possibly be
not weird? Not weird at all, bro. Not weird at all. Like I said, I literally have it everywhere. No, I think it's fine to read off your phone. Whatever works for you. But I'm just saying, I literally have it. If I leave my house, that thing is on me. That book is on me. You know.
Whatever you're calling polio evolved and became less powerful over time and more contagious. That does happen with some viruses, right?
Most viruses in nature don't become more problematic as they go through the human system. They become less problematic. Remember
right.
the whole COVID thing. Like in the beginning, people were getting super, super sick. It wasn't as contagious, but it was more virulent. And as it attenuated into the human bodies, it sort of it kind of fizzled out a bit. And then we got the Omicron, which was, less, it was more spreadable, but it was much less pathological. And that's the natural process that happens. So when you're going to have real problems with microbes, they're usually going to be reverse attenuated, meaning made more lethal in a lab, and then they're introduced into the population. And look, I'm not making this up either. 1916, Upper East Side, Manhattan, there was a Rockefeller lab that their specific stated goal was to try to create the most pathological, neuropathological strain of polio possible. And they did that by taking monkey brains and human spinal serum and injecting it into monkeys. And there was a big problem with that, which was released into the public.
That's the SV40 thing that the Truth Freeze is talking about, where they were like, people were getting cancer from this polio thing. You know what I mean? It's so bizarre. That's because they're using this monkey brains thing. Weird.
Accident. And the world experienced the worst polio epidemic on record, 25% mortality. That's unheard of. Really freaked the public out. But and you can see the epicenter as it fanned out. And as it fanned out and as time went on, never heard of it again. It attenuates as it moves through the body because it's a normal human commensal that goes back to its normal state when it's in a human. And that's generally what happens. If you have a highly lethal virus and it kills a lot of people, those people are dead. They can't spread anything. So that's kind of a different story if you want to talk about hantavirus or something like that. But as far as polio goes, no, polio was only made more lethal by the stupid things that humans did around it. So make it more invasive into the body, just like you can go do stupid things and end up with herpes
I
outbreaks.
heard about this. I heard about all the doctors that they were killing off and stuff. But even that, yeah, that might be like, yeah, exactly, like limited hangout type of thing. You know, it might be some kind of it might be the whole thing of the doctors disappearing or whatever, or mysteriously dying. That might have been a show operation too. Who knows, right? But I hear what you're saying, though. I'm just saying these doctors, most of them will talk about how like they'll talk about like how the pharmaceuticals don't research natural remedies. They'll talk about this stuff, this anti-vax stuff. What they generally won't talk about like the idea that, for example, viruses aren't real or stuff like that, which I think is really the where people should go with this.
Staph outbreaks. Polio virus is a normal commensal. It used to be until we obliterated it with oral vaccines and replaced it with vaccine strain. But the wild strains are normal human commensals.
So there's vaccine strain polio that just comes from a vaccine and is transmissible?
Absolutely. Today, it would be the oral polio vaccines because they're the live strains and they're still giving them pulse fashion all throughout India. They did a campaign a few years back in Israel, and they always say that a nomad came and pooped in the sewage system, and they find it in the sewage system, and they don't want an outbreak to happen, so they treat everybody. So that's today the most common reason to see poliomyelitis.
Yeah. All those people. Yeah. She's right. She's right. Sherry Tenpenny and those fake ass doctors and those guys, High Wire and all those people, wicked. Shills, every single one of them shills. Every single one. Most of the doctors who were talking bad about COVID, like they're kind of on our side, quote unquote, and during the COVID thing, they're shills. Almost all of them.
Disease from a virus. If you test for a virus, they'll usually find the vaccine virus. And that's why today we don't remember when we were kids, because we're about the same age, I think, they would give us the sugar cube. Maybe you didn't, but I did. I got
this woman's the same age as Joe Rogan. Wow. This guy's got so much like testosterone and all this other stuff. He looks like he's like in his 30s or 40s or whatever. She looks like she's in her 60s. And they're the same age. Bizarre.
I got the sugar cube, and that was the live vaccine. Well, they stopped doing that because after a while, the only cases of polio, and it became so obvious that the only cases of polio we were seeing related to a virus when they tested for polio virus were vaccine strains. So then they started injecting us again. But the early injections caused more paralytic polio than it prevented. And that's the part that people don't understand when they say, what about polio? Because they like you just go, well, there's no more iron lungs. There's no more crippling. There's no more these poor little kids walking around with their casts. Well, that's not true, because the iron lung is now called a ventilator. So that's out the window. Transverse myelitis, which there are about 1,300 cases, I think it's a month diagnosed in one particular, I put a quote in here on that. But transverse myelitis is actually something that would have it follows the same pathology as polio. It would have been called polio back in the day. So we still have polio that we had in 1953, because in 1953, all you had to have to be diagnosed as polio. Anyone could diagnose you, just one examination with one set of muscles being paralyzed. There was no time frame on it. There was no testing done on it. And then it was considered a public service to do it, because then you were eligible for funding.
So what do they call it again? Can you say that word again? Myelitis?
Poliomyelitis.
RFK is obviously a shill. Come on, man. Come on. You know that. Didn't you used to think Fritz Springmeier was a good guy? I mean, he's a shill, but obviously all the people that he talked about are shills too, like Kennedy's and stuff.
Myelitis is the definition of the actual pathology, so it basically means inflammation of the gray matter of your spinal cord. That's what polio in Greek, poliomyelitis. It means gray matter inflammation, poliomyelitis. Poliomyelitis is what happens in the body. Okay, if you want to talk about what causes it, then okay, maybe in some cases a polio virus causes it. And all the other things we just mentioned: arsenic, lead arsenate, calcium arsenate, injections, tonsillectomies were huge cause of some of the worst cases of poliomyelitis. And in fact, injections and tonsillectomies and unnecessary surgeries were put on hold during the years where the epidemics were the worst. So that's just proof that even the surgeons knew that.
Why how does it affect it?
Okay, so if you happen to have poliomyelitis circulating in your body that's not just sitting in your intestines and say it made its way into your body, because things can go from your intestines into your body, and you happen to have it close to a nerve that's up, say, around your throat, and then you go and take the tonsils out, then what you've done is you've given that access to the blood compartment, the lymph compartment, and the brain stem, which is right there, local. So those are the people that would get what was called bulbar polio, which is the ones that put you on a ventilator, and it's highly lethal. It's the worst kind of polio to get, bulbar polio, and it was very well known to have been coincident with tonsillectomies. Not only that, but tonsillectomies changed the structure and antibodies and the immunity that occurred in the throat, and it changed it for the worse, not for the better.
Do you think they're unnecessary, or is there some times when people have to get their tonsils removed, or is it just a nonsense practice?
Okay, so again, it's not just a cut and dry answer, because let's just say that anyone who's ever brought their child to me because their tonsils were touching or they were snoring has not had to have a tonsillectomy. Now, does that mean that a tonsillectomy won't solve that problem where you're snoring and your kid's maybe not oxygenating? No, if you let it go that long, probably you're going to need a tonsillectomy. But I've seen so many cases reverse. It's a very easy thing to do. But as doctors, we're not taught about all the things that you were talking about earlier, the natural remedies, but just simply gargling with a solution of sodium ascorbate, vitamin C, can make a huge difference, because tonsils are they're like porous golf balls, if you want to think of them that way. They got pits in them. And so food you eat and bacteria and pus can build up. But if you just start rinsing the outsides of them and start nourishing the body from the inside and getting rid of things that the kid might be allergic to, which almost every kid's going to eat if your parent doesn't know better, it can make a remarkable difference in these kids that have these huge tonsils. So I think that I think everything else should be done first before taking out the tonsils if there's time, because I'd say 95 to 99% of the time you can prevent that child from needing their tonsils removed.
Before we go to smallpox, I want to talk about this because you just brought it up. One of the things that Brett Weinstein has explained to me is that aluminum is the concept is that giving someone a shot with aluminum in it and triggering an immune response, if they're eating certain foods during that time, they can then develop an allergy to those foods, like certain people with peanuts and various things like that used to be very common for people to eat, but then a bunch of people developed like pretty severe food allergies. And he makes this connection that he believes it's a reasonable connection to say that there's something.
Absolutely. Oh, 100%. And it's not just something he's dreamed up. Again, provable medical literature in the book, Dissolving Illusions. The physiology, the pathology is known. It's very well known that the vaccines that have aluminum in them skew the immune system. So the immune system kind of, just if you want to break it down just really simply, you have your Th1 arm and your Th2 arm. Your Th1 arm is your really important one. Those are your T cells, your lymphocytes, the cells that chew up any garbage that's going around. That's the part you want activated in any infection you have.
See, all this stuff about the immune system and the way it works and stuff. I mean, I'm not saying 100%, but it's possible that's all shillery too. That's why I'm saying this woman might be a shill. I'm not saying 100%, but the fact is, they like to talk about viruses and stuff. I was gonna do a live about viruses, but like I say, man, they took down my thing. I got a strike now on my community guideline thing, so that's why I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit scared about this stream too, but we'll see.
It's COVID or measles or smallpox or whatever. And then you have your Th2 arm, which is there mostly to deal with parasites and things like that. And it's mostly an antibody arm of immunity. That's the one the vaccinologists are obsessed with, making sure there's enough antibody. So the vaccines that have aluminum in them, as opposed to the live attenuated vaccines, which don't have aluminum. All the other ones do. So your DTaP is going to have aluminum in them. All your killed vaccines are going to have aluminum in them. And that is very well known to trigger that Th2 response, which is the allergic response, which can set up your body for autoimmunity. And so part of the purpose of breastfeeding, which is part of the blueprint for humanity and every other mammal, is that the mother is able to introduce antigens in the world to her baby through her own breast and things that she's been eating and breathing in, and then the baby's able to develop tolerance. So while vaccine scientists are obsessed with getting antibodies and ramping up an infant's inadequate immune system.
Well, what are you trying to say? Explain measles. Like, the idea, if it's not a virus, right, then it's some kind of thing like in the environments that people pick up, right? And the reason why it appears to be like contagious is because everybody in that environment is picking up the same thing. There's something in their environment that's causing measles. Then they have it in their environment, they get it. And the virus is like this thing. I mean, this is according to the theory, right? But according to this theory, the virus is a thing that's actually created by your body to fight those type of things, those toxic things that might enter your body,
The fact of the matter is that it's more important to learn what not to react to when your immune system's developing rather than to become
same thing. It's like they're caused by something in the environment. Some kind of like pollution or something is in your environment. Or it might be that over time your body builds up these pollutants or whatever, like toxic things in your body. And then eventually at a certain point, your body decides, okay, time to clean up. That's when you go into cold or flu or whatever. Those things are actually the result of your body trying to clean out those things. That's the idea. That's a theory, it's just a theory. I don't know. All I'm saying is viruses have not been scientifically proven, Neither have they even been shown to even really be anything like that, They never shown them to cause sickness or anything like that. It's absolutely absurd, all this stuff they talk about viruses. Is so dumb.
Against every microbe that could get you. So that's kind of the paradox there, and one of the battlegrounds for immunology within immunology. And for those of us out here that are going, what are you doing here? Anyway,
you were also talking in your book about the importance of breast milk and the amount of nutrition that's in breast milk for a child and what it does for a child, and the differences in their immune system, the differences in a lot of different aspects of their development, which is pretty fascinating. And most people kind of just assume it's food. It's just food, but it's a lot more than that.
It's so much more than that. And
sorry. Okay, woke veggie. Yeah, man. Like, so, okay. When James says, see a man is not justified by works, but by faith only, but by works, right? He's not talking about the same kind of justification as Paul does. Paul's using the word justification in a unique way in Romans 4 and Galatians 3. Most times when you see the word justification in the Bible, it's not talking about that. That's like, so when Paul uses it in those specific cases, he's using it to refer to like being made righteous in the eyes of God by the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And then that's why you get saved and go to heaven. But James is not talking about that, because everybody, the whole audience of James are already saved. He's just talking to them about how to be better Christians, how to live a good Christian life. Okay. And when he talks about when he says, like, can faith save him in verse 14, he's talking about, can faith save him from the judgment by the law of liberty in verse 12 and 13. Okay. That's how that goes.
I was actually quite startled when I really went down that rabbit hole to see.
I don't know about the raw meat thing, but I've obviously heard these things, but I don't know. To me, that's a step too far, at least for now. But the raw milk, I think the raw milk is probably good. Like, I've had raw milk. It's good for you. From what I understand, like all the people in I had it when I went to Guyana, because my grandma lives on like a farm. or she did when she was alive, right? So we used to drink the milk right out of the cow. It was still warm, and it was good, and there's nothing wrong with it, you know. So, and we never got sick. Nobody was sick. Nobody in the whole village is sick. Everybody used to do it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I mean, it is food. It's excellent nutrition with short chain fatty acids and sugars that the baby needs. It actually trains your gut to be healthy in the long run as an adult, which trains your immune system as well. But what that mother is putting through her breast milk, you know, things like something called Hamlet, HAMLET, which stands for human alpha lactalbumin made lethal to tumors. And this is a substance, this is a protein. It's like a transformer protein that can literally turn into a cancer busting molecule that is being used by the oncology industry. Okay. And when it's not in that form, it's a powerful protein that fights off pertussis, all kinds of pneumococcal bacteria. And when it's not doing that, it's food. Okay. So it's like, it's got so many different purposes. Stem cells are coming through that mother's milk. Activated T cells. Activated T cells have another substance in them that is kind of hijacked by the oncology industry, and that is when they're immunosuppressing kids for leukemia or whatever, and they come in contact, say, with chickenpox. What they can do is get somebody like me who's immune to chickenpox naturally and take my memory T cells that remember that, and there's a substance in there called dialysable leukocyte extract. When you put that into another child, even if whether they eat it or inject it into them, it transfers cellular, that Th1 important arm of immunity I just told you, it transfers it onto them and protects them for a long time. So that's kind of in the old days when mothers had measles in the old days and normally, and they were able to pass this powerful immunity through that DLE factor, as well as all these other things, including preformed immune globulins. I mentioned something like 80,000 stem cells. It's just incredible. And we still have only hit the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we know.
He's talking about how Abraham is being justified by his works and Rahab, right? Because nobody can there's no proof that Abraham is a faithful man for us until he does that, you know? Everything up to then, it's like, okay, God told you to do it. It's like, okay, God told you to go to Canaan. God told you to fight the Babylonians. Okay, so who cares? God told you to do it. You did it. Doesn't prove you're faithful. But when he went to go kill his son, that proves that he had faith. Same with Rahab, right? Like, God knew she had faith. God doesn't need us. God doesn't need her to do something to help those men to know that she has faith. Obviously, right? But when she did that, then now we know she has faith. That's why the stories in the Bible, she's an ancestor of Jesus. So that's the justification. But obviously, Paul's using it in a unique way. It's quite clear. Paul, nobody else uses justification about going to heaven except for Paul, because he's describing this specific thing, going to heaven, how to go to heaven. But James isn't even addressing that at all in that letter. So it's just a poorly understood passage. People pick that passage out of context and they make it into something it's not.
Know about breast milk, but
oh, really?
breast milk also, it's been proven.
Wow, you see that? So do you know from the Discord, Faye Sola, she used to do it too. She got up and now. COVID jab, moms percent rejected percent cells. That's bad. That's not good. No, we don't have to do something to show you have faith, because God knows you have faith. God knows. Look at Romans 4:5. Okay? Look at Romans 4:5. You do not have to do something to show you have faith. At least not for God. Even look at Romans 4:1-5. You know, if Abraham is justified by works, he had whereof to glory, but not before God. Romans 4:2. But read that passage and think about it, man. Romans 4:1-5. Or just read the whole chapter or whatever. But he's talking about how to get saved. James is not talking about that. James is talking about something else, you know? James is talking about how to live the Christian life, how to be good Christians. But he's not. He doesn't even worry about whether they're going to go to heaven or not. He knows that this whole audience of his letter is going to heaven. He knows that.
Proven again that if you are gonna vaccinate your baby, if you're breastfeeding, the vaccine will bring that baby more into a Th1. If you're not breastfeeding and you're giving formula, that baby's going to move more into a Th2 in response to that vaccine. So like if most women understood the powers of breast milk, they would do everything possible to be able to do it.
I think you make a very compelling point for that. I think it's arrogant that we could assume that we could replace something with I mean, you ever read the ingredients of formula?
Yeah.
Like, how could that be good?
I know. Parasites. We have parasites that have been parasites upon humanity for such a long time, and that's what happens is that something is discovered, and for some people maybe it can be a good idea, but then the parasites take it and want to. So when it came to breastfeeding, it was, you don't have to do that. You don't have to bother yourself like that. You don't have to pull your boobs out in public. You don't have to become a dairy cow. Just strap them down. The milk will stop, and then you can start putting this wonderful. When I was a kid, I was fed soy milk in a warm plastic bag. That was the fad then growing up. So the formula.
I'm not understanding this comment, IGN.
Formula industry is a huge moneymaker, and some women do prefer it. Fortunately, 75% of women in the USA today do initiate breastfeeding. So that's very much better than the polio days when almost nobody was breastfeeding and they were using milk in the infant.
No, that's what I'm saying, man. Like when Paul's talking about how to get saved. How do we get justified in order to become? That's like that justification is like, okay, you're a sinner. Then when you believe in Jesus Christ, God imputes the righteousness onto you, right? That's what Paul's calling justification in Romans 4, Galatians 3, etc. Okay? But when James uses it, this is before Paul ever wrote a letter, okay? And so James doesn't even think of that. He's not even aware of that stuff. Like he's not really like, because Paul's understanding the doctrine more, right? He understands that whole thing better. So, and Paul hadn't written those letters by the time James wrote his letter. So James isn't even thinking about that. It's not even in his mind. That idea of justification, that thought of it, it's just that he's just talking about justified, like being justified, like, okay, proving that you have faith through your actions. Yeah, that's good. But that's not what gets you to heaven. What gets you to heaven is just having the faith, just having it without any actions. All right, Romans 4:5. Romans 4:5, okay?
Formula that had been contaminated by what the cows were eating.
Oh my God.
And so that was another part of the polio story that's not been told.
So the cows were all eating these pesticides.
Yes.
And herbicides.
Yes.
And the cows were getting sick with it. And then these people were drinking the milk from that cow and getting sick as well. Eating the meat.
The cows wouldn't have been necessarily getting sick from it, but it would be concentrating in their milk. And so the milk would have been expressed. But you just brought me back to another place. Cows were also used during the smallpox era. And what you're saying is true about that. So they would basically take what they thought would... Sorry, it's just so dark that sometimes you have to laugh. But they would take pus from other animals, scratch it into the belly of a cow, then take the pus off of the big pimples that would form on the belly of a cow. The cow could become very sick, and yet that cow could still be butchered up at the butcher shop. The butcher would get sick with pemphigus or some hand and mouth disease, or the things that the cows.
Yeah, all these horror stories about the vaccine stuff. All this came out hardcore around the time of COVID, right? And I was just like reading all this stuff. I was like, wow, dude. But like I say, the next step would be to question viral science itself, right? And that's highly questionable, but she doesn't do that. You know what I mean? That's why I think these people are like gatekeepers. So what they'll do is when people realize certain things that we're being lied to about, right? They'll put people like this in to kind of control the conversation and not let the people go further into more investigation, you know?
normally catch. And so those cows could still be used to produce meat in those cases. I don't know that it was used to produce milk. I don't think that would have, I don't know, but I know it was used to produce meat because the butchers were getting sick and the people that were eating the meat were getting sick. And certainly the people that took the vaccines that had certain.
Because what does justification mean? What does it mean? It doesn't mean what Paul uses that. Paul's use of that word is unique, really, in the whole English language, in all literature. You know, what does justification mean? It means that somebody who is like okay, or they're bad, or they're thought of as bad, is now being thought of as good, right? They're being justified. So Rahab was a harlot. She was thought of as being bad. Then she saved the men. Then she was thought of as good now. That's all that is. Just being thought of in that way, that means you're justified. The way Paul uses it is completely unique. No one uses it in that way. But Paul's saying it's because he's talking about the specific action of the sinner who believes in Jesus Christ. Then Christ or God's righteousness is imputed onto us. That's a process that Paul is calling justification. And there's no one else who ever uses the word that way. Nobody else ever. You know what I mean? Well, now Christians do, but like that's what I mean. Like it's only in that specific, it's a very specialized use of the word, you know?
Certain who knows what in them, because it was shown like into the 1970s, 80s, and even recently, I have a reference from after the year 2000 that there was more bacteria and fungus in the smallpox vaccines than there was smallpox virus. So it was because they had this thing called pure lymph, which was pus that came out of the horse's foot, or a donkey's pus skin, or a cadaver of a human, or a cow's ulcerating udders, and scraped into glycerin and called pure lymph and marketed all over the world as this is the look, Joe, this was our success. This is the one vaccine that eradicated a disease. Can you?
This is so nasty, isn't it? This is like all this stuff I found out about a few years ago, but wow, it is gross to hear about it again. So does this mean we can live however we want and go to heaven? You can. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not good. Like there's consequences for sin. Okay? You're gonna lose out on. You're gonna be ashamed when Christ comes. Okay? You're gonna lose out on rewards in heaven. You're not gonna get to reign with him. Only the ones who are true to his faith and confess their sins, only they will reign with Christ. So don't you want to reign with him instead of just being a regular pleb in heaven? And also, God will chasten you in this life, right? It's worse, like as Peter says, right? 2 Peter chapter 2 at the end, he says that it's worse for somebody to have it's better if you never knew the word of truth and lived your sinful life than to find out about the truth and go back to your sinful life. It's worse in this life, you know, because it's going to ruin your life. But yeah, you would still go to heaven though. Yeah, you would. You wouldn't go to hell anyway. But it would suck. I mean, it would suck. It would be amazing, right? But it's like it's not. There's a more amazing experience of heaven with rewards and all that stuff. Or you can have the experience of heaven of just being there. You're the one that made Christ ashamed. You know, it's not worth it, man.
You believe that fairy tale? I'll tell you another one like that. It doesn't get crazy. This is our success. This vaccine that I had described in great detail with what was in it and what people saw under microscopes and then later tested genetically was what was called a quasi-species, meaning they don't even, after a while, it became its own thing. It wasn't from a horse anymore. It wasn't from a human anymore. They called it humanized horsepox when they genetically characterized the dry vax and then ordered that every dry vax specimen on the planet be destroyed. I think that was.
Thanks, Truth Freeze. Truth Freeze, you got to come on the show again. We talk some more. I like your style.
It's around 2009.
Why did they do that?
Good question. I don't know. Hiding the evidence.
No, he wasn't lying. What are you talking about? Did you read verse 11 there? Did you read verse 11? Or sorry, what am I doing? Okay. But no, Paul's not lying. If you read verse 11, he says, such were some of you. meaning that they are not those people. He's not talking about the audience because the audience is already saved. So they're not part of the discussion. He's saying such were some of you, because if you never believed in Jesus and you did those things, then you go to hell. But he's saying don't do those things because those people go to hell for it. So don't be hanging out with people like that. That's all he's saying. He's not trying to say that they're gonna go to hell if they do those things.
Possibly, but they now have a new vaccine, which doesn't work. But they wanted to bring this one back when I was in the peak of my career in 2003. I got a letter on my desk stating that they needed people to get vaccinated for smallpox so that those other people that were getting vaccinated would have somebody that could treat them that would be immune to smallpox, because it's well known that if you get a smallpox vaccine and you get these horrible scabs, that you're going to spread smallpox and you're going to have a horrible itchy time of it, secondary infections. You will need a doctor at some point. Well, it turns out that the trials that they did on super healthy people, soldiers that were in top shape, were so bad in terms of cardiac disease and other diseases that the government put it on hold for a second and said, no, we can't do this. Meanwhile, guess what? They were using the same.
I'll tell you, Glory, because you put it like this, that's why everyone's getting confused. Because you said faith without works can't save a believer. But because what he's talking about is James 2:14, when James says, can faith save him, right? He's trying to refer back to the fact that faith without works cannot save you from the judgment seat of Christ, right? When they're going to be judged. No, man. See this? Oh, man. Sorry. Look, I'm sorry, bro. Look, let me just explain this to you, okay? What Glory was saying, right? What Glory's trying to talk about here. Please, come on, man. You gotta anyway, whatever. I understand you're new. So Glory was talking about James 2:14 and how if you don't have works, you're gonna have a bad judgment at the judgment seat of Christ. So without works, that can't save you. That's why James says, can faith save him? But that's all he's saying. He's not trying to say that you need faith, you need works to be saved from hell. He's not saying that. Of course not, right? Anyway.
The same vaccine in the 1700s and 1800s, late 1700s, all through the 1800s into the 1900s.
Do you understand now, IJN? I hope I explained this now, right? Because I know. I just see this question. I haven't seen you. Can you just explain? Can you just tell me whether you understand now or what? I hope so. Anyway,
1900s, they would sometimes, you probably saw the picture of the child's arm, considered a good take, 5 huge ulcers on the arm, with sanitation being what it was, no antibiotics. Can you imagine having your baby have 5 scars on its arm, ulcerating?
No. It's about, James 2:14 is about the works. Without works, you can't be saved, quote unquote, from the judgment by the law of liberty in James 2:12 to 13. Okay, do you understand? So that's when he says faith cannot save, can faith save you? Or can faith without works save you or something, whatever, or I don't know, what does he say? Can faith save him, right? He's talking about being saved from the judgment at the judgment seat of Christ. He's not talking about salvation like going to heaven. That's not even on the board. They're already going to heaven. James is well aware. Okay. All right. It's okay. You got to be careful though when you put those things out. That's the thing, especially when you're in the comments section, because people can easily misunderstand. I'm not telling you. I'm not like, it's totally fine, right? But I'm just saying, for the future, like for your awareness, people really get confused. You're not careful.
From these things, having fevers, sometimes
I went through this type of thing many times, Lori. That's why I kind of have learned this lesson, but that is how it goes.
Became necrotic. Sometimes the disease spread all over the place, and there was nothing but to give them except bloodletting, mercurials, and arsenicals, and heating them up in a dark room with no sunlight. That was the treatment for smallpox. So you tell me why smallpox was so lethal.
This episode is brought to you by Farmer's Dog. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's 7 complicated, freshly made, just the general public health conditions during the time of the smallpox outbreak.
That's right.
And just the way people lived is almost unheard of. You wouldn't be able to imagine just the smell of human feces everywhere. Like, streets were filled with outhouses. There was animal shit in the streets. It was no sanitation. There's no running water. It's a disaster. It's a disaster, and there's no good food. So you got malnutrition. You're exposed to numerous pathogens and just in waste. You probably have fecal matter on everything. It's probably unavoidable. It tracks in your house. It's everywhere you go.
It's your drinking water.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
drinking water was you would skim the top off for your drinking water back then. And we know that co-infections make any primary infection worse. You know, if you have measles and you get a co-infection, it makes it worse. COVID with a co-infection, anything makes it worse. You end up with, you know, pneumonias and pus pockets in your lungs. So yeah, thank you for that description. I don't think I could have done it much better myself.
But that was
normal.
Go watch Gangs of New York. Like,
Yeah.
that's obviously a drama, and you know, it's probably not completely accurate, but I bet it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I bet it's pretty close to how people lived back then.
Yeah, the slums, like you can actually, like in here, it's not all medical articles quoted. Some of the quotes that we use are historical quotes from, you know, anthropologists that would go through the slums in New York. You know, the Ellis Island was just bringing people in, and they would sometimes have 20 people in one room with no privy, dark, you know. Like you say, the sewage would run underneath the house, so the smell of it would be coming up through the whole time. And then you'd have them working 16 hours a day at the age of anything upwards of 4 to 5 years old could be sent to either coal mines or canneries to bring money in for the families to barely survive. So people weren't being paid very well. But you just said.
No, it's not emphasizing a lifestyle left behind, because in that letter of 1 Corinthians, right, we can see that those people were committing those sins. They were drunkards, or many of them. They were fornicators. Later in that same chapter, he talks about how they're visiting harlots, prostitutes. Okay, so it's not. No. You're absolutely wrong. And he also talks about how they're carnal. They're having divisions in the church, which is also in that sin list. Okay, they're committing the sins in that list, right? They're committing the sins in that list. Throughout the letter, he's talking to them about that. Okay, so you're quite wrong if you try to say that, no, Paul's talking about some changed lifestyle in that. He's not. He's talking about the change of their position in Christ. Such were some of you, because they were fornicators, drunkards, etc. But now, having been saved, they're saints, which is why he calls them saints in that letter. All right. So you're quite wrong once again.
Smallpox being what it was. But what people don't realize is that in the 1600s, late 1680s, doctors were describing smallpox as one of the easiest diseases to treat if you simply just supported the human. Again, quoted that. And then what happened is the Industrial Revolution, and people were taken with the Land Enclosure Acts out
because
from farms
it's not just about being saved. It's not just about being saved. It's about being saved and also living a good Christian life. That's why there's two things going on here. There's being saved to avoid hell and go to heaven. But there's also the idea of living a good Christian life for rewards, for blessings from God, and for helping God grow the kingdom. That's why he wants them to live a good Christian life, so that they can be good servants of God and be profitable. Yeah, unfortunately it does for you, man. If that's what you think. If you think you're better than the child predator, that you deserve to go to heaven, and he doesn't. Some child predator who believed in Jesus Christ and was forgiven, and now he's a saint. And you think you're better than him? Well, that's why you're not going to get in. Okay, so I would suggest you drop the attitude like you're better than child predators or whatever. You're not. You're just a sinner. You're going to hell too. And if you believe in Jesus Christ, though, you can go to heaven.
Into cities which didn't have the pigs, basically were the garbage men back then.
Sanctification is like a process of becoming. Sanctification means being separated, right? Being made holy. Holy is like separate from the world, the worldly things. Holy is separate from that, right? Sanctification is the process of becoming holy. Okay? Now, when you believe in Jesus Christ, you're instantly sanctified for all eternity, right? That's Hebrews 10:10-14. But there's also a process of sanctification that we can undergo in our walk with Christ. That's what he talks about in 1 Thessalonians 4:3-8. And also in chapter 5 of 1 Thessalonians near the end, talks about that.
Oh, thank God, because if they didn't, it would have been even worse. Horses were your cars, so the horses were dumping everywhere. You know, some people they said there was a foot of horse manure to get through to walk across the street. So it was horrible in pretty much every way you can think of, and then the human oppression on top of it, in terms of the poverty that was there and the wealthy elite at the top kind of, you know, living the good life. But it was starting to filter up to them at some point, which is why it was actually individual people that sponsored the first public drinking fountains and things like that. It was probably partly to save themselves. Because if you can stop disease from running rampant through society, look, they still had to go into the cities to get things.
Right.
And even if you sent your servant into the city, your servant could bring you home something lovely from the city. Yeah.
This is not the picture that was painted when we
See,
were children.
see how she did. Oh, sorry.
We'll deal to the infection as well.
Anyway, sorry, man.
But wasn't there also an issue that it crosses the blood-brain barrier?
Oh man, I
things
can't
like
find
that related to the COVID. Here,
where
mercury.
was it? Where was I just now, guys? I don't even know where I was because I hit this stupid thing and now I changed the time. Anyway, we should have find that.
But that wasn't a thing then. It was more, typhus and things like that. We see the death rate come down at the same exact avalanche as the diseases that we did vaccinate for. And in some cases, there's a little blip when the vaccine comes up and things get worse for a bit and then come back down. So again, the point.
Do you guys remember where we were, like time-wise? Oh man, this sucks. I hit this stupid thing and I changed it. Anyway, whatever.
Of the book was just interpreting the data that's existed for a really long time, vital statistics throughout the world as to the decline in death rate.
Oh, thanks, bro. We're this far up. Wow.
Infection too, but it will deal to the infection as well as the integrity and the collagen inside of your bones and your soft tissues. I mean, it's like one of those things that's so important it should be given upon admission to every hospital.
And what's really crazy is if you're one of those people that thinks that all you need is a balanced diet and you're eating like a piece of chicken and some lettuce, like that, there's no vitamin C in any of that, or not enough.
Probably not enough. Yeah, chicken
not
and
enough.
lettuce won't do it. Yeah.
If you're not consuming like some sort of liposomal vitamin C supplement, if you're not taking something on top of that, you're probably not at an optimal level to survive anything. Which is it's like part of why we have
was she talking about something else? Hold on. I thought she was talking about something else. Let me just. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna just research this a little bit.
Patients, to people who are having chemotherapy while they're having chemotherapy, to my patient before I've even seen them on the ward. Can we just hold this up and give it to them on the day of discharge? That was my request.
What?
And they stand for science, like they're the warriors for science, and they get very aggressive.
Did we talk about this? The warriors for science thing? Did we talk about this already? Because I think what happened was you saw me when I had already changed it. I think that's what happened. Anyway, so all the child predator has to do is believe in Jesus and he is saved, even though he can keep on sinning. No, it's not Muslim level arguments. Actually, you're doing a Muslim level argument. See, I disproved your false interpretation of the Bible, and I'm making my arguments from the Bible, right? Whereas you're making your arguments from something in your head about Muslims and child predators or whatever, your weird ideas that you have about what God can forgive and what God cannot forgive. That's in your head. It's not in the Bible. So if you'd like to make an argument from the Bible, then we can talk. But as it is, you're the one making Muslim level arguments, okay? That's why, like I'm telling you, man, you are the one who's the heretic. You're the one who's probably on his way to hell, okay? You can think like, oh, you're going to be good enough to get to heaven. You're not. Nothing you do will ever make you good enough to go to heaven. You are not good enough to go to heaven. Okay?
About it. And they don't even want to breach the subject. They don't even want to look at it. because the more you look at it, if you're a logical, rational person without like a deep-seated ideology attached to vaccines, and you just looked at the reality of it,
Anyway,
you just
whatever.
go, "What?
I'm sorry, you guys.
What is
I'm
this?"
sorry. I'm sorry. It's typical. I'm not trying to like. I don't even know. I think what happened is you saw where I had hit it. That's why I'm not trying to like discount your view. I'm just saying that I think that's what happened there. Because I feel like we haven't touched on this yet.
On the planet, Mercury is in vaccines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You trying to say we're Muslim level arguments? They're the ones who actually literally promote pedophilia, or they promote their pedophile prophet. And they do promote pedophilia in a way because they do have like many child marriages and stuff. But we're not doing that. All right. We're just saying that we're just talking about what the Bible says. Okay. So just deal with the Bible. Don't try to make dumb arguments like that.
Means your tooth or a toxic landfill. So if you were to drop a vaccine at a vaccine clinic onto the floor, the hazmat guys would come in. You're not allowed to just pick it up if it's a mercury containing vaccine. The hazmat people have to come and take that away. Yet we're okay to take, a portion of that vial and inject it into, a 3-month-old child. How does that work?
It doesn't sound logical. And then
6-month-old, actually.
there was also the issue with the different types of mercury, right? Is it methyl and ethyl, the two
Methyl and
different?
ethyl.
Yeah.
Apparently ethyl is good and methyl is bad, according to Paul Offit, senior vaccine scientist. But the fact of the matter is, once
Yeah, I agree with all your comments here, IJ. Thanks. Glad you figured it out.
And like fish can methylate mercury and they can get rid of it. Once we demethylate mercury, it's in us until you do something called chelation, where you can put a chemical into the body that can grab onto it and pull it out through your urine. Otherwise you're stuck with it. So in my opinion, all mercury is bad, shouldn't be put into humans, shouldn't be in our food sources, shouldn't be in our environment, except for look, you can even find uranium in nature, right? It's what people do to it to concentrate it and how they use it that becomes a problem.
Wasn't the issue that one of them, I don't know, it's methyl or ethyl mercury, leaves the body quicker?
Yes, it's ethyl mercury that leaves the body quicker, because methyl is a chemical that gets put onto it naturally. And apparently, I'm not an expert on mercury poisoning, but apparently methyl mercury we don't have the ability to excrete, but ethyl mercury we do.
No, I didn't. I didn't pervert the word at all. Actually, you're the one who's perverting the word. All right. You're not explaining it. You're taking these scriptures out of context. I'm explaining to you the context. You're just taking these verses by themselves and trying to prove something. Do you understand what proof texting is? How that's not how you're supposed to read the Bible? All you're doing is proof texting. I'm explaining the context of those scriptures that you're pulling out to say that. And Romans 6:1. Explain Romans 5:20 and 21. He says that Romans 6:1. In Romans 6:1, he says, don't shall we sin that grace may abound, right? What he's saying that is because if we sin, grace will abound. That's what he said at the end of chapter 5. So you don't understand these scriptures. You're just taking scriptures out of context. It's shameful, okay? I'm trying to help you, man. But like I say, you're probably on your way to hell. And don't come in here and try to tell me what I'm doing. I'm explaining you the Bible properly from context. You're taking scriptures out of context to make them say what you want them to say.
Yeah.
But wasn't there also an issue that it crosses the blood-brain barrier?
Well,
what do we do with Romans 4:5? What do we do with this? What do we do with it? What did I do? What's wrong with what I said about Romans 4:5? Explain that. I told you about the whole chapter. Romans 4:2, Romans 4:22, whatever. The whole thing. I explained the whole chapter to you. You don't have a clue about the Bible, dude. You just went and Googled a bunch of verses that prove your point, that you think prove your point. No, I didn't ask you to proof text. I never asked you to proof text. You decided to start proof texting. I never asked you that once. You're the one who started proof texting, asking me dumb questions. People like you are just shameful, wicked, false teachers. Trying to come in here and tell me. At least if you had an actual biblical argument and not just a bunch of proof texts, then I could respect you. But no, you don't.
Time there's inflammation, anything can cross the blood-brain barrier. it's the aluminum that we really know crosses the blood-brain barrier, and that's still in vaccines today. And yeah, anyway, we get into blood-brain barrier if you want to. That's a whole other story. But yeah, so mercury, obviously, it can get into the brain. It's found in the brain. It can get into your adrenals and your other glands and important areas of your body. And even the thing is that even at such low levels can cause problems. It's no neurotoxin. Has no place for circulating or being deposited in the human body in any form.
But isn't it fascinating that they've done such a good job promoting this that people are going to get outraged at what you're saying? They've done such a good job.
To my life.
And you've got a lot of courage, and I want to commend you for that, because writing that book and being here talking about it takes a lot of courage. And it's from regular people who want to believe the vaccine. They're scarier than anybody. The people that are just rabid vaxxers, and they stand for science, like they're the warriors for science, and they get very aggressive about it. And they don't even want to breach the subject. They don't even want to look at it. Because the more you look at it, if you're a logical, rational person without like a deep-seated ideology attached to vaccines, and you just looked at the reality of it, you just go, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, how did you trick people into injecting? How many a year now for kids? What is it?
In the 70s. I believe we're in the 70s.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And then you want to demonize anybody who.
And once again, this is just proof texting again. So once again, I don't know where you got the idea that I asked you to proof text. I did not do that at all. I never asked you to even talk to me or anything. I never asked you for anything whatsoever. You asked me for my interpretation of James 2, and I explained it in the context. Then you start bringing other verses that are also out of context. So everything you've done since I met you, since you started talking to me, is bring verses out of context to prove your stupid point that you don't understand, right? Instead of trying to understand our point, that's not what you're trying to do. Like, if you want to come here and try to understand what we think, why we think what we think, then maybe you could come up with a reason why we're wrong. But as it is, all you're doing is pulling out these verses completely out of context. Once again, you don't know what this thing means. All you see is that one verse by itself, and you think, oh, that means that you can't sin or you're going to go to hell. Do you think you never sin? According to 1 John 3:9, right? You can never sin, ever. If you ever sin once, that means you're not born of God, right? According to that verse, right? You're an idiot, dude. Stop talking to me.
Who says anything about vaccine side effects? You are the craziest of kooks. They come down you with the hardest publicity campaign. It's so transparent. You see it coming a mile away, and you're still shocked.
Secret, thanks. Thanks for the post, man. I saw your post. I was like, wow, dude. Because I know this woman is. I was like, what? This guy's interviewing around Joe Rogan. So then I thought we look at it. But you know what's funny, man? I just said one thing about vaccines on my stream. It took down my whole stream, and they gave me a community guideline strike. I'm kind of worried about this stream, but I'm not that worried because this guy's talking about it. But now they're like, but this shows you this is some kind of shill move. The shills realize that like people are realizing about those things, so they're like, okay, we better figure this out, But I asked you, listen, dude, I don't know. I think maybe, yeah. If I asked you,
issue itself,
if I asked you for a biblical argument, if I asked you for that, I can't remember if I asked you for that, but if I did, then that would be you offering a biblical argument, not proof texting. Do you understand the difference? You don't? You're such a fool. You're losing respect live. Yeah, losing your respect. Your respect. You absolute idiots. Anyway. Listen, you put 1 John 3:9. This guy said manifesting. This guy literally said manifesting. See how these guys are? Manifesting. What is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to mean? Woke veggie. What a joke. These people are a joke. Anyway, 1 John 3:9 says that you can't sin at all. According to your stupid interpretation based on nothing, based on just taking the verse out of context, right? It says that if you sin, whoever is born of God doth not commit sin. So have you ever sinned since you were born of God, since you think you were born of God? If so, then you're not born of God. So stop bringing 1 John 3:9. You don't understand 1 John 3:9. You don't understand any scripture you brought up to me today. Not one of them. Not even one. What a joke.
No one wants to say, like, well, is she right? If you read your book, is she right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're right, and I think you're right, like, we've been lied to. And we've been tricked into thinking that this is all settled science. And that's what's infuriating. It's not that it's anti-science. It's like, this is not science. What you guys are doing is not science. You've subverted, you've perverted that notion. And you've done it in an amazing way. I mean, hats off to you. What they've done in terms of like brainwashing people to believe that all this is it's not just necessary, but it saved millions of lives. And anybody that is against it in any way, shape, or form is a quack, and you should be deplatformed and never talked about again. And polite public society and cocktail parties, you'll be shunned.
Yeah. Well, the way they were able to get away with it is 226 years worth of propaganda. Because the fact of the matter is that ever since the beginning of smallpox vaccines, there have been vaccine deaths. The reason, and look, we've added, I brought you a special copy. This is a limited edition. In the 10th anniversary edition, we added 200 pages. We added a chapter called the White Plague. The White Plague is also tuberculosis. Tuberculosis was a side effect of the smallpox vaccine. Tuberculosis rates were rampant. And in fact, the inventor of the smallpox vaccine, his child died of tuberculosis, and so did his 2 test subjects that he used. And it was well known to follow smallpox. Lots of doctors talked about it. But in about 2 or 3 years after the vaccine was accepted in England, you hear doctors speaking out about it, cursing the day they ever agreed to do it to people, to children, to anybody. And so what happened is that the government came down harder and started making it mandatory and would take your furniture away and started intimidating the doctors. And that's an age-old thing as well. And I experienced it. And any doctor that's ever stepped out of line and said something bad about vaccines will either be intimidated or worse. So 226 years of propaganda. And so I'm just going to give you one example, and I'll give you a copy of this to have, and you can put it up later if you want. But in 1984, because there was so much going on in terms of the public learning about the problems with the diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis vaccine and the polio vaccines, that a federal register was issued by the government and went to all health departments in the United States, which is supposed to be just kept there and never circulated. And it said, quote, "Any doubts, whether or not well-founded, about the safety of the vaccination program must not be allowed to exist." That's literally what it said. It's straight out of,
George Orwell.
Lenin. So you had that, and then you have the changing of the goalposts and the outright lies within scientism, because it's not science, it's a religion that calls itself science, and we still are a victim of that today. Most science today is sponsored by the very people that are going to profit from it. And I think, and even Jenner, who invented the smallpox vaccine, never did a scientific study. He never did a controlled study. He never did non-vaccinated people, vaccinated people, and then expose them to smallpox in a large enough group. He would cowpox them and then expose them to smallpox. And it was well known that smallpox followed cowpox. So it's just been, look, again, I never expected to be here. I just wanted to be a healer. I just wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a nephrologist and teach medical students and make the world a better place for people. That's all I ever wanted. This is a nightmare for me, actually, while I've met some incredible people and I've had a really good life and I have no regrets and I would do it all again, no doctor wants to be put in a position where their integrity is doubted, their sanity is doubted. And if you want to pull up a page called, it is called Rational Wiki, I think.
They're the ones that are in charge of all the this medicine, this false medicine, this false education that we have. They're the ones that implemented it all, right? So I'm very like sympathetic to your view of the Catholic Church. I just don't feel, anyway. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Chris.
Anyway, I'm considered a Sith Lord, a very, and in fact, I didn't know what a Sith Lord was back then. I had to actually look it up. So I'm like Darth Vader. So it was a bit of a compliment. But on the other hand, most doctors can't tolerate being called quacks or having their reputation destroyed. And I went from treating the CEO of actually the head of the laboratory at my hospital.
Hey, King, sorry, guy. Bless you, brother. Bless you.
Becoming, somebody that was doubted on every levels after a while because of one thing that I said, which was, can we stop giving vaccines to my sick patients, to people who are having chemotherapy while they're having chemotherapy, to my patient before I've even seen them on the ward? Can we just hold this up and give it to them on the day of discharge? That was my request in the beginning. That's how this all landed here. And had they not tried to intimidate me, doubt me, and pushed me to research and show that what I saw was actually real, I would still be lockstep working as a regular doctor, because there were some good things about it. So look, even if you look at what happened with COVID, let's just look at that. Like, how did they pass this off? Look at the media today.
No, I didn't time you out. Don't call me names. I'll time you out if you continue calling me names. All right? But I didn't time you out. But what I did say is that you're a false teacher who takes verses out of context and doesn't understand them. Doesn't understand anything about. No, again, I can explain them in the context. You're just taking verses out of context and just putting them there. You're saying that this is what it means. Well, if you look in the context, that's not what it means. You tried to use 1 Corinthians 6, 9 to 10. You didn't even look at 11. You try to say 11 means, he's talking about a changed life. Well, no, he's not, because the Church of Corinth were completely sinful, completely wrecked. So no, you're the one who's proof texting, not me. Again, I'm explaining the context. So just come up with an actual biblical argument. Anyway, you're just wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. You should just stop trying to pretend you know the Bible. Start trying to learn the Bible instead.
Today, you know that they're giving COVID vaccines to 6-month-old children now. We know how bad it is. We know that it ruins stem cells in pregnant women. They don't give stem cells to their babies. The industry's upset because the placentas no longer have stem cells. They used to use those stem cells in research and cosmetics, etc. They're not getting them anymore because of what the COVID shots did to the placentas and those infants. That's not being talked about in the media. Nothing bad about the shots being talked about when we have Kevin McKernan and all these people looking at it going, there's SV40 in it. There was a staphylococcal endotoxin gene. There were 2 snake genes in there. It's a definite gain of function. Nope, we got to put it on the baby vaccine schedule, because any doubts whether or not well-funded about the vaccination must not be allowed to exist. That's why.
That sounds like a religion.
And it's been
It
going
sounds like
on.
a cult. It sounds like a crazy cult that the whole world's been sucked into. Giving a COVID shot to a baby.
See, they're like fully, this guy's fully like, look, the other day, I'm telling you, man, you guys don't understand. What I said about vaccines was nothing compared to what these two people are saying here, right? They took my stream down. They gave me a community guideline strike. Okay. Now these people are saying this. I'm telling you right now, they're releasing this information because there's some kind of plan, And remember we were talking about this, Nathan, like how like they let people start talking bad about Jews now, and they let people start talking bad about Israel and Israel's genocide and all that stuff. Back in the day, if you said anything about Israel genocide, nobody would say it. Nobody would ever say it. Now Candace Owens says it, and like she's still allowed to have a platform or whatever, right? So I don't know what you don't understand. I've explained this 10 times to you, man. We're not suggesting you should go continue sinning. We're not suggesting the child predator should continue doing that. They're going to be chastised. They're going to lose out on rewards. God might even take them home early or somehow really badly punish them. But eventually they'll get into heaven. They're not gonna be able to rule with Christ. They're gonna be like a pleb in heaven. It's not like a good thing to continue sinning. We're just saying that if you did, you wouldn't lose your salvation. And I've already explained that. So please, like, try to catch up or just get what I understand. What makes my interpretations correct? I don't know. I have an argument from the text, from the context. That's what you don't have. Okay? For example, you tried to use 1 Corinthians 6, 9-10 to make the claim that you if you do those things, you won't go to heaven. I explained that verse 11 shows that such were some of you. They're not like that anymore. He's not talking about them. Then you try to say, oh, that's just talking about a change of life. And then I explained that no, the Corinthians are committing sins. That's called context. I'm giving you the context. You understand? Anyway, look, woke veggie, you're an idiot. I just told you what context is. I just told you. 1 Corinthians 6, 9-10, you try to use it, you were wrong. I explained the context. You're quite wrong. Okay? You can come up with another explanation or another argument. No, I didn't time you out. Anyway, whatever. I'll time you out right now. I'm gonna time you out because I'm sick and tired of you. Anyway, idiot.
Baby today is insane.
3 of them. They get 3 by the certain. You'd have to look up the schedule, but I believe it starts at 6 months, and they get 3 of them. Kind of boom, boom,
Are
boom.
doctors really recommending this?
It's on the. Look, there's a group of people called ACIP. They're doctors, usually with vaccine interests in their bank accounts, that make the recommendations for the vaccines, and they've recommended that 6-month-old. So if your doctor is following the ACIP program, you have to be offered that vaccine. And now that doctor, this is another part of the story, is that doctor's likely to lose $250,000 a year if they don't do that, because there's incentive given to hospitals and doctors, which is what naively I was on the other end of when I woke up in 2008 and said, wait a minute, why are we doing this stuff to my sick, inflamed patients? You're giving them more inflammation. It's because the hospital would lose something like $40,000 if they didn't give a vaccine within the first 24 hours of admission.
Oh my
There's
God.
some dumb worky man, just some
$40,000.
worky pig. I don't know where these people find me. But I guess whatever.
It was all a money game. That's really the bottom line of it. And I didn't know that until a nurse years ago, who was a high-level administration. She said, Suzanne, this is why they did that to you. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, at least it makes sense now.
Nobody wants to think of it as a business. Nobody wants to think you're making business decisions at the expense of someone's health and possibly whether or not they make it. Like, what are you doing?
Well, that's been the case since, basically the medical profession was infiltrated in the early 1900s by, high-level interests that didn't want us thinking for ourselves and carrying on with the natural cures that actually work, carrying on with normal midwifery. There was just so many changes that happened as a result of best practice medicine, not to mention, the forming of the AMA by a couple of real quacks. That's a really good story. And the AMA would give their stamp of approval.
They just, you know what it is? It's partly, I don't know what it is. I don't know. You're right. That may be what it is, man. But I was thinking they're like, yeah, they're self-righteous, like Nathan's saying. Basically, they think they are good enough to go to heaven. That's what they think. They think like, okay, I believe in Jesus, so now I just have to live really pretty good and I'm gonna sin once in a while, but as long as I'm pretty good, I'm gonna go to heaven. So they think they are pretty good. That's what they think. So that's why they think like, oh, that guy, he's really bad. That child predator or that like murderer or whatever. So that guy can't go. But me, I'm pretty good, so I'm gonna go. So that's what it is, man. They're just self-righteous. They don't want to give God the glory too. That's the other thing. They're taking some of that glory for themselves, you know.
So say you created an infant formula, well, it would say AMA approved, and your infant formula would sell even better. Or remember when doctors smoked camels because camels were best? Those are the days.
And this is also the time when this coincides with when Rockefeller was designing the school system, right?
Well, first Rockefeller, I think oil was one of their primary
So that's the pharmaceutical
investments.
aspect of
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, so you want to talk about the school system?
No, but he did both, right?
Okay.
He was part of both. So he was a part of the reason why natural cures are so easily dismissed and why it's so dismissed, because Rockefeller put the entire medical establishment on oil-based.
That's right.
So all pharmaceutical drugs that are made by using oil.
Yeah.
And he did it because he sold oil.
You know that one of the ironies, it kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I got
see what he just said. That's the narrative. Okay, that's the narrative. The narrative is that supposedly because what's his name, Rockefeller was the oil man, then they wanted to produce oil-based like synthetic chemicals, right? They make most of the synthetic chemicals we have are made from byproducts of oil. Okay, so that was a way for him to make money by selling it. So that's the narrative they want in your head, that all Rockefeller is just a businessman and he corrupted the system to make money. You know, that's not what it is. It's much deeper than that, right? It's probably like some satanic thing. I mean, of course it is, right? But that's what they don't want you to think about. They want you to think it's like, oh, he just wanted to make money. It's just a money-making thing, you know?
A really bad case of mange in a dog by kerosene, putting kerosene diluted in olive oil. And they'd been through everything. They could not get rid of this mange on this beautiful dog.
Oh, wow.
It was a cane corso dog. And so
mange is horrible for dogs. Oof.
Really bad. But one spray, it was done.
I had a dog that I picked
You have
up.
to keep careful around the, flames and stuff.
I had a dog that I picked up off the street and took her in, and she had horrible mange, but it all went away with just food. I just gave her healthy food.
No, it can't. Joe, come on. You had to have an expert help you.
No kerosene, no nothing. Just love.
Food. Oh, that was an
Food,
argument
love.
I had in the hallway once with the senior chief of medicine. He would always say, so how are you today? Normally be like, good, superficial comments. I said, by the way, I'm having real trouble with, the H1N1 vaccine. My patient's getting kidney failure after getting it. And he turned dark on me. I never saw him dark before. And he said, no, they just didn't have time to take effect. And of course, then I heard every kind of soundbite in the book from him, which I didn't know were soundbites at the time. And then he said, well, what do you think is happening with meningitis and these college kids? I'm like, oh, come on, that's a total no-brainer. It's like their nutrition goes down the tubes when they leave home. They're smoking. They're staying up all night long. They're hanging out with their pals. They're doing everything they couldn't do when they were at home. Oh, you got to be kidding me. So you think it's their food that's causing problems? And I was like, well, what medical school did you go to? Like, I was actually taught that nutrition matters and how it matters and why it matters. But that's been almost completely like if you're...
Wait, what? What's going on? What are they talking about now? Now they're talking about meningitis. Okay, so... I guess they're trying to say that measles, because measles brings meningitis, right? That's probably why they're talking about this. I don't even know. What do you mean by this, Gloria? I'm not sure what you mean by this.
If you want to sneak vitamin C into somebody's hospital room, the best way to do it? Don't bring in jar vitamin C because they will stop that at the door. You get yourself a McDonald's milkshake or a burger.
Which ones? I told you, I explained about Romans 6 as well. Romans 5, at the end of Romans 5, you can see that the reason why he says, shall we sin that grace may abound in Romans 6 is because at the end of Romans 5, he was explaining that if you continue to sin, grace will abound. So that's why he has to ask. So that's the whole point of why he said that in Romans 6. But you bring that up as if that proves that if we sin, we're going to go to hell. It's because you don't know what you're talking about. Just stop it, man. Just try to learn something or whatever. Like don't try to come in here and act like you know the Bible and act like you know all this stuff. Like maybe we're wrong. I don't know. I mean, I do think we're right, but maybe you have a better argument. But you would have to actually learn the Bible first. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just bringing these scriptures that are completely out of context and trying to prove something that they don't say. So just stop it, man.
And you just dump that milkshake out and you put something else in there, a smoothie with some vitamin C, and they will say, off you go. That's perfectly fine. That's going to be great for this person, this child. That's how you can get it in because they think that McDonald's is wonderful. In fact, McDonald's are kind of situated proximal to a lot of hospitals and the Ronald McDonald houses are there and everything else. But bring in a homeopathic or, magnesium or vitamin C and you've got to get permission for it and go through so much red tape. And a lot of time you'll be told, no, you can't give it because, you'll cause.
No, what's homeopathic is dumb though, isn't it? Isn't homeopathic Like dumb? Hold on. What's homeopathic again? I forget. Homeopathic is weird, right? I feel like it is. Homeopathy is a complementary or alternative medical system based on the idea that like cures like, and the substances, when highly diluted, can stimulate the body's natural healing ability. Like cures like. Law is similar. The substance that causes symptoms in a healthy person can, in a highly diluted form, treat those same symptoms in someone who is ill. Yeah, he could. By the way, Paul never murdered Christians. He was an accessory, maybe, but yeah, he could. He could. He wouldn't be an apostle. I didn't say he'd be an apostle. What are you talking about? I didn't say Paul would continue to be an apostle. To be an apostle, you have to live in the faith. But he could be saved. I'm not insulting you, man. I'm just telling you that you're completely ignorant. No, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I wasn't very Christ-like. You're not being Christ-like. What do you think? You're being Christ-like? Is that what you think you're being? Look what you said here. Did I say this? Did I ever say this? I was telling you about how God chastens people that are sinners, that they'll lose out on rewards, that they may even be killed. God may take them home early. But you're trying to say that I said that Paul could continue to be an apostle of Christ even while murdering Christians. So you're actually like slandering me, okay? And you're trying to act like you're the one who's being Christ-like. Yeah, you're ignorant. You are ignorant. I don't think I said weirdo. I think you are an idiot, though. Whatever. Okay, so I'm not being Christ-like. Okay, sorry. You're not being Christ-like either. But just understand, bro, that, or you're not my brother probably, but anyway, maybe you are, but whatever. The fact is, you don't know what you're talking about. You are ignorant. And by saying this, right, what you're saying here, you're slandering me, okay? You said other things here that are not good too. You're just not good. And you're taking these verses and taking them out of context. You try to say I'm manifesting, like this is you're not some angel here. What chat? What chat did I take out of context? Anyway, shut up, man. You're an idiot. Listen, I am just gonna ban you now. Okay, so you could hang out if you want, but you unfortunately cannot talk to us anymore. Oh, okay, yeah. By the way, Woke Veggie, if you want to come on the live, or maybe I should remove the banning. Oh, you hit him? Oh, typical hit him. All right. All right, sorry, bro. Are you talking about that guy? What's his name? Anyway, homeopathy is a complementary or alternative medical system. Okay, yeah. By the way, Woke Veggie, I don't know if you're still watching, but if you want to come on the show and debate, you can do that. I forgot about that. Yeah, it might be a waste of time, but it might be interesting too. So homeopathy is a complementary or alternative medical system based on the idea that cures like. All right, so we got that. Like cures like, law of similars. Law of infinitesimals. The more of a substance is diluted, the more potent it becomes. This is dumb, dude. This isn't scientific. Is there any scientific basis for this? So the effectiveness of homeopathy is not widely accepted in mainstream medical science. There's no strong evidence. I think most pop music is satanic, I would say, and most of these K-pop people are satanic. I can show you some evidence of this if you like. Anyway, so this is the type of thing. This is what they do. This is what they do, man. They'll tell you, oh, like they'll give you some truth, like yeah, like vaccines. They'll go the anti-vax thing. Then they'll say, hey, by the way, homeopathy, you know? But homeopathy is dumb. Like homeopathy is completely dumb. It's ridiculous. So she's trying to act like, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a scientist. The only thing I did was I realized this thing about vaccines, and so I started researching it, and now I've been blacklisted. Then she starts talking to you about homeopathy. You know what I'm saying? So they're quacks. She's trying to push her quackery. You know what I'm trying to say? Anyway.
You'll cause bowel necrosis. You'll cause diarrhea. You'll cause kidney stones. Everything in the book that doesn't actually happen with vitamin C. But it's what they've measured vitamin C levels on people that enter hospitals, and pretty much everybody's deficient or on the border of deficient when they enter, and pretty much everybody when they leave is got borderline scurvy, if not full scurvy. Fortunately, they go home and start doing other things and can
you see what you do.
There's a lot of.
So now you're trying to say like you've called me a liar multiple times. That's why I called you an idiot, because you started this, and now you're trying to act like this. You can come on this stream right now and debate, or you're getting banned again. I don't know how do you even get on here again? How does this guy do this? I guess he just changes his stupid name. But anyway, whatever, man. Look, come on this thing right now and let's debate. Otherwise, shut up. Don't call me a liar. I never lied. When did I lie? When did I lie? When did I take you out of context? When did I do anything you're accusing me of? This guy's cowardly. No, I didn't, man. Typical just told me that he modded you. I have mods here, man. I didn't do anything to you. Anyway, either come on the stream right now or you're getting banned again. What do you want to do, man? You absolute coward goof. Wait, didn't the guy get timed out? I don't know. I banned him or something, but he got back in. I don't know how he does it. Oh yeah, you see, I have mods here, right? It's not like I do everything, man. Click the StreamYard link, man, or you're just a coward, dude. Oh, you unhit him? Oh, okay. I don't even know how to do that. Anyway, this guy's too scared. Okay. All right, cool. So anyway, let's just look. Woke veggie. Okay, we had some misunderstandings. I got mad, you got mad. We called each other some names. Let's just put it all behind us. Let's just be like civilized people and have a discussion. You can come on here. We can talk about some Bible verses, and I can explain my view of it. I'm not trying to tell you what to believe, but I would suggest that you believe what we believe, but you can believe whatever you want. But just come on here and let's go.
Around out there, and those are the people that are going to do the worst with the vaccine, and they're going to do the worst with
subclinical scurvy in modern society, just from poor diet.
Well, it's not just the poor diet. So any kind of stress will consume vitamin C. A cigarette will consume 75 milligrams of vitamin C, and they tell you that you only need 190 milligrams a day. That's the FDA requirement.
Wow.
So you just have a few cigarettes and you've depleted your stores. So we don't make our own vitamin C as humans. Humans and guinea pigs, we don't do that, and so we have to consume it.
Do you know some Canadians that told you about that? Is that why you know about that? That's hilarious.
And we're reliant on our fruits and vegetables or supplements to do, or if you eat organ meat, you can eat the adrenals that are loaded with it. But aside from that, it's your fruits and vegetables that are going to give it to you. So if you're under a lot of stress, or you're taking medication, or you have a lot of inflammation or arthritis, whatever, that's going to consume vitamin C, because vitamin C is an antioxidant as well as an antiviral, and good for your nervous system. So yeah, most people are walking around skimming the edge. If you can see kind of a red line on some people's gums, they're probably vitamin C deficient. If your gums are bleeding a lot when you floss, you probably need some vitamin C. And you could have an infection too, but it will deal to the infection as well as the integrity and the collagen inside of your bones and your soft tissues. I mean, it's like one of those things that's so important, it should be given upon admission to every hospital.
And what's really crazy is if you're one of those people that thinks that all you need is a balanced diet, and you're eating like a piece of chicken and some lettuce, like that, there's no vitamin C in any of that, or not enough.
Probably not enough. Yeah,
not enough.
Won't do it. Yeah.
If you're
I was here, right? Oh, sorry. You know what? You're right, eh? Or maybe this is, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Maybe you're right, Tip. I don't know. I feel like I skipped forward. Anyway, maybe we were here.
Sort of liposomal vitamin C supplement. If you're not taking something on top of that, you're probably not at an optimal level to survive anything. It's like part of why we have so many metabolic diseases. We have bad metabolic health. We have metabolic diseases. Like it should be super obvious. Like, oh, everyone's like really unhealthy and doesn't have any nutrients in their system.
I'm sorry,
they're all getting really sick.
I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm doing, man. Anyway, is this even that interesting anymore? Like, these people are shells, but I thought they were gonna say something more interesting. Like, everything they're saying, I already knew. She's literally not saying one thing new. We haven't known for years. I know the supplements, man. The supplements, always with the supplements. This guy's a notorious supplement pusher, wicked.
From all these different things.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, no, you need medicine. You need a shot. You need a this. You need a that. You need to get on this. You need to get off that and get back on this.
and you're a hippie, if you want to just eat kiwi fruits and get your vitamin C from that, or have oranges
Yeah.
or broccoli, oh my gosh, broccoli makes you a total hippie, or kale,
Yeah.
forget about it.
Nuts.
Now, see, we have a different kind of malnutrition today than we describe in the book. Back then, it was people were toxic from basically drinking poop water and being worked to death and having diseases all around them. And so they were protein, calorie malnutrition, as well as vitamin as well. Today, we have kind of dysnutrition, like DYS, dysnutrition, and that everyone's fat, so they don't really look malnourished. Pretty much, you go on a cruise or you go to the beach, even skinny people have big bellies now. Big belly is the thing. What was that?
I said go to Bert Kreischer's house.
Who's that?
That's my friend.
Okay,
He's gonna hate that you don't know who he is.
But so today we've got inflamed guts from glyphosate and the wheat that's been altered to make us inflamed, and then just the chemicals that are added to our food, and the vitamins that actually don't help us and set us back, that are fortifying our bread and milk, lack of vitamin D. So we have a different kind of a problem, but essentially causing the same bodily dysfunction.
No. I come. You know what? I have like a live stream. I'm gonna do one tomorrow, but we have like a program. So if you want to come after the program, like maybe around midnight Eastern Standard Time, tomorrow. Otherwise, maybe Saturday or Sunday, I go around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so just come show up in the comments and we'll get you on, all right?
Dysfunction.
Yeah, the wheat thing I used to think was nonsense until I ate pasta and bread in Italy, and I was like, okay, why do I feel so much better?
Yeah.
Why do I not feel like I just ate poison? Because I love like pizza. Oh,
Yeah,
I
who
love it.
doesn't?
I love lasagna. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so good. But after it's over, I'm incapacitated for like an hour or two. For like a 2-hour period, you're just like a shadow of yourself. Just
Yeah. And you think, oh, maybe it's just the high carbs, but you just proved that it wasn't, because in Italy you were okay with it.
I ate a whole pizza in Italy, and I was waiting for it.
That's what I'm saying. Saturday or Sunday. On Saturday night and Sunday night, I do a live stream from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can come to that if you want.
I was like, I'm gonna eat this margarita pizza. It's so good.
I
They
did
made
too.
it in the brick oven. I was like,
Yes.
this is so good. I'm eating the whole pizza. I don't care. I don't care what it's gonna feel like afterwards. I ate that whole pizza, and then I was like, where's it? Is it coming? It
Waiting for the
never
hit.
came. Never came. I felt normal. I felt like I just ate food. I was like, this is nuts. Like no crash.
Yeah. The bread in Scandinavia is the same.
That's what
And I
people
think
used to eat.
People don't know that. What's that?
I said that's what people used
It
to
is
eat.
like real food.
Well,
real
the people
grain.
need to understand, like what they did was, and this is according to Maynard from Tool. You know Maynard Keenan, the lead singer of Tool.
No.
He actually.
What's he talking about? Is he talking about you know those things in the bread? What do they call it? Glutens? Is it glutens? Is that what he's talking about here? He's talking about how like supposedly when he eats lasagna he feels so tired, and then he's like saying how there's some other kind of bread or lasagna or something that people eat that doesn't cause that. And he seems to be saying that we used to eat like that. So is it the gluten thing? Is that what he's
People used
talking
to
about?
People don't know that. What's that?
I said that's what people used
It
to
is
eat.
like real food.
Well,
real
the
grain.
people need to understand, like what they did was, and this is according to Maynard from Tool. You know Maynard Keenan, the lead singer of Tool.
No.
He actually runs a farm.
Mhm.
He has vineyards, and he has like he's Caduceus is his wine label, and he's like really good at growing things. And
Mhm.
because he has a restaurant, he was explaining to me that what they did is they just engineered it to have higher yield. So they put more. It's got more complex glutens in it, so it's not the normal organic wheat that grows in Italy.
So this is the gluten thing again. So they're trying to make the case that if you eat gluten type bread, then that causes you health problems. But if we eat the more natural grains, make the bread from the natural grains, then that'll be better.
Where they don't have genetically modified crops.
Right.
So you can still get that flour and you can still get that pasta from Italy, and it's much more consumable.
Yeah.
But the
Definitely.
American stuff is just thick. It's just your body's like, what is this? It just
Yeah.
comes in like sludge.
It is interesting.
It feels like I ate glue. That's what it always feels like.
Yeah.
When it's over. Unless it's really good sourdough bread. That doesn't seem to have that.
Yeah. I kind of agree. Like I'm not gluten sensitive, but I definitely feel more awake when I don't have it.
Yeah, it's not
Good on
for you,
holiday or
but
when
it's
you
so
want to go to sleep.
delicious.
I know.
It's so delicious. But this is also a problem, and this goes back to when R.J. Reynolds was going through all their stuff with the lawsuits that were coming from people realizing, oh my God, cigarettes give you cancer. They're not good to like smoke if you have emphysema. I thought they were good for.
Add some arsenic and it'd be great.
There was a movie, and I forget what movie it was, and it.
Thank you for
were-
smoking.
Well, there's that.
Okay.
There was a movie where Leonardo DiCaprio was young and he was sick, and his doctor was prescribing cigarettes to him.
Oh.
And like the mother was saying, "Did you smoke your cigarettes that the doctor told
Yeah.
you to?" You're like,
Yeah.
"You're not smoking. Like you need to keep up your health."
Well, there's something to that because you know about the nicotinic receptors, and you know the smokers got less COVID than the rest of us, and
I
there's
did hear
definitely
about
some
that.
protective effects.
Well, also, doesn't nicotine kill COVID? Like people were saying
No.
that nicotine. No, so that's what it is. That's how it kills
But
it.
what happens? So the spike of COVID, which is the evil part of COVID.
See what I'm saying? See, this is the disinfo. So they get you in with the anti-vax thing. Like, hey, we're talking about anti-vax on YouTube, guys. Listen, come. And then they start talking about this COVID and all this stuff. What a bunch of nonsense, man.
Has all these horrible lab engineered proteins encoded into them. 2 of them are snake toxin proteins that bind onto your nicotinic receptors. Okay, so if you can smoke nicotine or take nicotine gum, then you're going to block those receptors up so you can trade off some of the stuff that's from the spike.
What about like nicotine pouches?
Yeah, like that would probably, if you're having long COVID or any kind of post-COVID syndrome that's related to the nicotinic receptors, you only know by trying it. But listen, I always say start small. Don't go out and be a hero and take a whole dose at once. Start with a quarter of whatever it says and wait and see what happens.
Yeah,
because nicotine's a powerful drug.
Try a cigar. Pick up the cigar.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a wonderful habit. Yeah, that was an uncomfortable thing in the beginning of COVID. They were saying that for some reason smokers seem to be having a much easier go of it. Like, what? How do you have a respiratory disease where smokers are statistically speaking getting less COVID?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been around. I did a tour one time, and there were 2 heavy smokers on the bus with me, and they were the only 2 people that didn't come down with whatever flu with all the rest of us got. Not even that flu couldn't even live in their throats.
So now they're trying to say, now these 2 idiots are trying to tell you that if you smoke cigarettes, you have less chance of getting COVID. But they won't just say that what we know about what COVID really is, but they're going to tell you that vaccines are bad. So this is just all disinfo, man. But this is gatekeeping. This is what they call gatekeeping. So for some people who realize about the vaccines, they want to gatekeep you so you don't go all the way and realize about all the other stuff, Wow, man. This is so dumb. Anyway, let's keep going.
It kind of makes sense if you think about it.
Well, it changes the polarity of your mucous membranes, the charge of the cells on your mucous membranes, and that's probably part of why even the viruses can't adhere properly.
We're not encouraging cigarettes.
No, we're not at all.
But we are saying.
But if you are, it should be non-cured and naturally cured.
Oh, like American spirits,
yes.
Like those kind of deals.
I get all my smoking friends to convert to that brand.
Does that help?
Totally help. Come on, are you kidding me? You know how many horrible carcinogens there are. Do you know back in the native days when they were smoking and people were smoking natural cigarettes, it was almost unheard of for them to develop lung cancer.
Right.
With the natural tobacco.
American spirit cigarettes are
no,
not
sorry,
healthier.
They're absolutely wrong. It is.
It's marketed as natural and additive free, which may lead people to believe that they are a safer option. However, there's no scientific evidence to support this claim. They may even have higher levels of nicotine than some other brands, but the nicotine is not the problem. So
that's exactly right.
Just by them saying that that leads me to think that this might be propaganda. Yeah. Because saying that nicotine is not the problem, that's or rather saying that they might have more nicotine.
Okay.
Well, I'm just
but I understand. But AI should understand that nicotine. Oh, I know he does. I'm just saying. AI doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense is that it's saying they might have more nicotine, but that doesn't matter.
They're not addressing the actual question.
To skip time, save time, so we don't have to go through.
Oh, no. I'm not saying to you. I'm just saying to them. Like what they're writing seems to kind of be silly. Marketing of American spirits as natural can create a false sense of healthiness, which may make it more difficult for people to quit smoking. I think smoking companies wrote this. I think the other companies fed this information.
You know what? When I talk about that, I guess we're gonna have the live stream tomorrow about AI, right? But I want to talk about how AI is so leftist and so weird. It's obviously like, I know it's so much propaganda, dude. Yeah, cigarettes are bad, man. yeah. I was gonna take off soon, but anyway, let's hear what these people say. These people are just chilling, man. But it was interesting. It was kind of interesting to hear them actually say this anti-vax stuff on YouTube because they never do anymore. But wow, dude. Yeah, the left one's all. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Or just the owners are left leaning, or I don't even think they're left leaning. It's just that they think that the Dems are going to help them. But now they're jumping on Trump's thing too. Now, right? Was it Trump? When they were all on stage, was that with Trump? There was like Zuckerberg and all the Bezos was there. The guy from Apple was there. The guy from Google was there. They were all on stage and what I'm talking about? They're supposed to go in front of Congress or something. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember, this is what it is. The inauguration. So they're all at the inauguration. All of these people, all of them. It doesn't matter, but obviously they're all shills anyway. I don't even think they're left and right. They don't believe in left and right. They believe in shillery. The hate for Elon is just increasing. Yeah, but kind of. But some people are down with Elon. Like the Republican base, the Trump's base is still supporting him, right? Yeah, he is for now. I think he's gonna leave the thing though. Yeah. No, Elon's not chill, dude. He's a shill, bro. But anyway, I guess you're not part of this conspiracy talk, but these guys are. I mean, Elon is not. Even without going into conspiracy theories, right? Elon is not the inventor of the Tesla. He's not a genius. He's not a PhD in physics, you know? He's just like a person. He's an agent of people who are bigger than him, you know?
In the world, the tech titans, as we often refer to them, Jeff Bezos with his back to us, I believe. He was greeting Elon Musk.
Sandra Pichai there. Mark Zuckerberg,
Zuckerberg is in there, yeah. And here are some of the most powerful people in the world. The tech titans, as we often refer to them, Jeff Bezos with his back to us, I believe.
Yeah, so okay, so we got this guy. We got this guy from Google, Pichai. We got this guy Bezos from Amazon. Zuckerberg is on the stage. Okay. Others of them, you know, the guy from Apple, you know, the guy Tim Daly or whatever, that guy, you know, the CEO of Apple. All these guys are on the stage, man. Look at all these guys. This is Zuckerberg right here.
He was greeting Elon Musk.
Sandra Pichai.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg,
Zuckerberg is in there, yeah. And here are some of the most powerful people in the world. The tech titans, as we often refer to them, Jeff Bezos with his back to us, I believe. He was greeting Elon Musk.
Sandra Pichai.
Anyway.
And here are some of the most powerful people in the world.
Gosh, Emmett. You know what I wanted to show you guys, man? Maybe we'll watch it during the random stream. Are you guys chilling? Let's watch this thing. Let me show you this thing. On the subject of shills talking about stuff that you wouldn't expect people to talk about on the mainstream media, let's talk about one of those. Because there's a lot of subjects that I think what's happening is people are talking about these sort of off the beaten path subjects on social media. Then the elites are monitoring our social media, and they're saying, okay, well, they're talking about this stuff. This is where the wind is blowing. So then they formulate their strategy of counter propaganda when they see what we're talking about on social media. So what I wanted to show you was the one with maybe I don't have it here. I don't know. Oh, it's this one, yeah. Look at this. So I don't know if you guys maybe don't watch this stuff. So if you watch MMA, right? There's this guy
convinced we come from monkeys.
Now, what's interesting here is this guy. This guy's the fighter. This guy's like a MMA YouTuber guy, and this guy here is a fighter. Okay, MMA fighter. What's interesting about this guy is he's Christian. He's a workie, but he's Christian, quote unquote, and also, but this is all staged. This whole thing is staged. This whole conversation is staged, right? But I'm just telling you what's going on here. This guy's a workie. This guy on the left. And also, what happened was he was saying something on a podcast. He was talking about how Hitler was a good guy and he would have gone fishing with them. Okay. Oh, you saw the mission. You know this interview, right? Good. So then this guy goes, Lana Del Rey. She's wicked too, though, man. But did you see? I was looking at her recently too. I don't know you saw that. Anyway, so this guy's talking about, he was like how Hitler was a good guy. I would have went fishing with him and all this stuff. It made a big kind of like controversy, but all of it's staged. And so this conversation is staged too. I was just saying, it's very interesting what these guys are about to talk about. So I don't know. Listen up.
How's it going, man? You got training coming up soon, I hear? Yes, sir. Training at 6 o'clock. And first, dude, I only know you as an MMA guru. I got to get your real name, brother. I don't like saying my real name on here, Bryce. It's a dangerous world, giving my opinions online, especially in the UK. I don't know if you're aware. Dude, it's so much communism. It's run
I
rampant. And let me tell you where communism stems from. Communism always follows atheism. And this is not an attack on anybody specifically. I'm just telling you the facts, and the facts hurt people's feelings. In a Christian nation, there is no communism. When there are Christian nations, they're the strongest. They conquer the world. They seize everything. They have healthy societies. Where there is Satanism, where there's atheism, there follows communism. Always.
See what they're doing? They're setting up this thing. Like Bryce Mitchell's gonna kill that guy. You know, Bryce Mitchell's gonna kill that guy who was, that guy Gene Silva who was dissing him and all that stuff. Bryce Mitchell's gonna smoke that guy. I bet you anything. Bryce Mitchell's gonna absolutely choke that guy out or something. All right, and then he's gonna be the hero, and then people are gonna start listening to him. Right? He's gonna tell them about flat Earth and Hitler was okay and all this stuff. They're gonna talk all this weird stuff. But he's going to get them into his false version of Christianity, which is works-based. Listen to what these guys say.
You can't. Communism and Christianity do not mix. Okay, so I just wanted to say that, brother, and I love you too. I want to say that, and I pray for your nation, and I know everything that's going on, brother. I see it all. People think I'm an idiot.
You know what it is, man? You know what it is? I knew. First of all, that guy is much older than me, so I respect the people's age, right? Secondly, I knew he was going to be polite. And so, you know what it is? I try to be polite as long as they're polite. The only reason I started yelling at what's his name, Reggie, Woke Veggie or whatever, is because he started calling me a liar or something like that. You know? So I try to stay polite until they start saying dumb things, then I start getting mad. Which maybe that's not the best strategy, but that's what I do. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying probably it's better to, like, even if they do start saying things that are bad, just call them out for it, but you stay polite. That would be the best thing to do, you know? But I do if you were asking me why I choose to be rude to that guy Woke Veggie and I wasn't rude to the old man, it's because of that. Because he's very polite.
Yeah, I know what's going on in the UK. I know what's going on in Africa. I know what's going on in China. I know what's going on in Russia.
Yeah, exactly. They think, like, even if that one event, the event that shall not be denied, right? If that event was fake, that doesn't mean he was all right. Actually, you know what it is? They have a whole narrative, eh? They have a whole narrative about how he wasn't the aggressor. He wanted peace. And, it was the British and the British were like, so and that's kind of a like credible story in a certain way. If you understand history from a certain perspective, like if you actually believe their version of history, and then you just found out a few things about H-Man that kind of led you to another conclusion, then the whole idea of Hitler did nothing wrong is not that far-fetched from that perspective on history. You know what I mean? From our perspective, it's like he's just a shill. They're all shills, you know what I mean? Or that's what I would say about it anyway. You think it could be shit? I hang around most of Guru's lives, and he seems very normal, just like a random YouTuber that got rich. But I wondered if controlled. Oh yeah, he's completely controlled. This guy's controlled opposition, bro. That's why he's another part of this thing. See how he'll talk about little things? He'll like sneak in little things, right? Little things that you think like, oh, he's real. He's a real one. He's natural. He's chilling. But no, man, he's programmed. They're moving the conversation in the way of the people like this, just slowly. I'm not sure what their agenda is, but I can see that's what they're doing. This guy is not just some random person who happened to build up a YouTube channel. That's not what happened here. This guy's a shill. Bryce Mitchell's a shill. You know what I mean? This whole conversation is staged.
All this shit is evil.
I know, and I agree with you about the. Even though I'm not a Christian myself, Bryce, I agree with you that faith keeps a nation strong. I very much agree with you. But,
SP. Well, with SP, listen, SP. I've known SP for a while. Like I like SP, but when he started calling me heresy and all this stuff, maybe I should have just chilled out though with that too. Probably I went too far with SP. I feel bad. SP probably hates me now.
If the UK wasn't first to fall into that whole atheism thing, maybe they'd be in a different position right now when it comes to the law of this country.
Maybe it'd be a definitely.
Yeah,
Any nation,
definitely.
any nation that serves God will prosper. That's a fact. God will not let a nation crumble down that serves him. He will not. He will.
This is like, yeah, from like, yeah, once again, from the standpoint of their version of history, if you just look at history, like you actually believe that Germany is an independent country and England, Russia, France, all these countries, right? From that perspective, if you also realize that the H class was not true, right? That event, then you could interpret like the way things went down. Like it's like, why did he invade this Sudetenland or whatever that thing is in Czechoslovakia, right? It's because that was their territory before, and the people there were being kind of oppressed, the Germans that were living there and stuff, so everything has a reason. They could make the case that Hitler did nothing wrong, anyways. So.
He will not let inferior heathen destroy a nation. It just simply will not happen. But when a nation turns to sexual immorality, pervertedness, wickedness, and it just runs rampant, and the kids are defiled in the schools, and God's going to destroy you every time.
Almost deserved, some would say.
Well, his wrath is righteous, brother. You can say I don't like it or this or that. You can have your opinions, but God knows what he's doing, and he don't make mistakes. And the only reason that America is hanging on by a thread is because we have that pocket of Christianity that will die serving the Lord. And I do believe that the day that America is going to fall is coming. I really do believe that, brother.
Hey, they're trying to get you. They're trying to make you fall down the Western Europe route. We got a few places in Europe holding strong. Poland, I know, is holding strong with their faith right now. I know you're probably a big fan of Poland, Bryce, if you know about the world.
Poland, bro. I love Poland so much, bro. It's amazing.
See, they're making it. They're putting this. So the two of them are putting this argument forward that Christianity is good for your nation, and we need to go back to Christian values, right? And Poland is just, they're Catholics, and then this guy's supposedly like Southern Baptist or whatever, but he's clearly a works-based show. Like, listen to what he says. Anyway, sorry.
If there's one country I was going to move to, it would be Poland.
They're keeping their faith strong, and they're probably, as you said, they're trying to get it going in the US as well.
See, like
generosity and filth.
And then this is the thing, like he's like, oh, Poland. If there's one place I go, is Poland. Like, so either Bryce is actually an idiot who knows nothing, and then he's just that dumb that he doesn't know the Poland Catholic, or whatever. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would he know that, or what? Anyway, this is dumb. But listen to what he says. He's gonna talk some workspace stuff.
Filth spreading across that nation. You got to keep it strong.
Yeah, we're trying, brother, and we're living in the book of Revelation. I don't know if you're familiar with Revelation. So Revelation is the last book in the Bible, and it talks about.
No. It's what happened is it's not that anybody banned the Bible. I don't think anybody banned the Bible. That would be extreme. But what's going on right now? Anyway, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, Seeker, but there is a story going around right now about the definition of anti-Semitism. They want to put in this new definition of anti-Semitism from the IHRA, the International Holocaust something like that. But anyway, the IHRA has a different definition of anti-Semitism. They want to implement that in different places. And if that according to that definition, certain things in the Bible would be, according to that definition, they would be anti-Semitic. Such as the claim that the Jews killed Jesus or something like that, which the Bible clearly states. Mitchell's story about his testimony was very weird with the witch and stuff. Who knows what really happened? Yeah. This guy's a show, bro. Straight up 100% show. I kind of was like, I was sympathetic to him until he said the thing about it. Then I realized this whole thing is just staged.
About all the degeneracy that comes at the end of times. It even says, I don't
is that right? I didn't know that.
Revelation.
I didn't know that, eh? Or was it? Wait, well, this is what I was replying to before. So yeah, when we hear Mitchell's thing, you guys are gonna trip. But with this thing, Poland has mass immigration too. I didn't know that. Mongols love Poland, but don't realize they're in the same boat. Is that really? Is that true? I thought they had reduced it. But you know what's kind of standing strong? Hungary. But I'm telling you, even that whole notion that, those countries, those are the ones that are holding it up, like Hungary or Poland or whatever. But those are also just completely control opposition. But they're like anyway. Like if I show you all the things with Viktor Orban and stuff and the Jews, it's crazy, bro. Candace, yeah, like this is what I'm saying. Candace is another example of what I'm trying to tell you. That there's certain things, and me and Nathan were talking about this before too. There's certain things that used to be off the board. You're not allowed to talk about them, right? Now they're getting certain of their shills to talk about them. So they'll get what's her name? Candace to talk about like the Gaza genocide, get her fired from Daily Wire. Then it becomes a story. You know? So what I think they're trying to do is get people more and more divided. And then on the right, they're going to reveal more and more about the things. And on the left, they're going to say, you know, don't all those people are insane, and just make it more and more divided this society. Maybe that's their strategy. I don't really know. Oh, is that right? That's so sad. I used to go out with this Polish girls. Poland is awesome.
But this is in regards to the end of the world. Women will not know how to be women. Men will not know how to be men. I mean, it prophesizes, and so going back to Revelation talks about the whole power in the world, the elite power structure funneling up to where one man rules the whole earth. What do you see going on right now?
I see Elon Musk. That's what I see, Bryce Mitchell. I see him nice and clear.
See that? See that? Like, I'm sorry, man. Anybody who tries to tell me Elon Musk is the Antichrist, you're mental, you know? Or maybe it is, whatever. Anyway, the point is, though, this whole conversation is staged. The idea that Elon Musk is the Antichrist is staged. They're playing us, man. They're playing us. They're playing people that believe this stuff, you know?
And let me tell you, have you heard of the mark of the beast? Speaking of Elon Musk.
I have heard of the mark of the beast, and it sounds a lot like those chips he's trying to put in our thumbs, brother.
Brother, now is a good time for you to call on Jesus, because I promise you the end is near.
See that?
And I
see that? Call on
promise
Jesus.
you, if you call
on Jesus. Call on Jesus, right? Because this person is not, he doesn't know what salvation is. He doesn't know. He thinks he's gonna talk about his changed life in a minute. He's gonna start talking about how his life completely changed. He got a house, he got a this, he got a that, he got a family and all this stuff. Wicked.
Call on Jesus. Well, if it doesn't work, you're not going to risk anything, but it will work. He will change your life like me. I'm living in a nice house now. I got a wife and a kid, and I have all the reason to fight for the Lord. I had no purpose before I called on God. I was I was a total atheist. I was convinced we come from monkeys, but then I started seeing some of these prophecies unfold, such as the mark of the beast. You know, it talks about a mark that will go on every man's head or every man's palm, and you can't buy or sell without that mark. And now here we have Elon Musk, who has all the money in the world. And what is the one thing Elon wants more than anything? He wants to put a mark in your head. And I'm telling you, Revelation has talked about this for 2,000 years. We are in the end times. The time is short. You will reap what you sow, and the harvest is near, brother.
I mean, I thought we were going to get to this towards the middle of the podcast, but we're starting out strong with some of these points, Bryce Mitchell. I like it. Coming in hot. Elon Musk. Seeming like a little bit too controlling for my liking. Getting his hands on everything, it seems.
But you know what? This understand, like, look, I'm not trying to say I don't support multiculturalism. I never have, okay? I'm not trying to, well, maybe I did back in the day, but whatever. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to say that what you're saying here is incorrect, Seeker, but I am saying this, that they're trying to get people like us to think that that's a problem, that's the problem. The problem is immigration and multiculturalism or Muslims or whatever. That's not the problem. The problem is just that we ourselves, or as a nations, or our nations are turning away from God. And so God is causing these problems in our lives. And then when these problems come up, they say, oh, that's why. That's the problem. We got to stop that thing, and then things will go back to normal. But the real thing that's causing everything to not be normal is that nobody is trusting in God, you know? Anyway.
Well, yeah, and everything that he touches is a lie. It's a fabricated lie. Whether it's his electric cars, you know, our power grid can't even support electric cars. And his electric cars suck. They cost way too much and they do too little. About SpaceX, total lie. He's never been to space. Space don't exist. There's something called a firmament. People don't understand biblical cosmology. For 2,000 years, people have known about the firmament. Elon Musk knows about the firmament, but he deceives people. He makes people think he goes into space and this and that. SpaceX, fraudulent. Tesla, fraudulent. Mark of the Beast, Neuralink, fraudulent. Doge, I don't even think they're doing that good. I think that it's fraudulent. They're using that to deport who they want and don't want to. They're using that as a to implement power
Like
where they see fit.
if people had real faith in their gods, right? Whether it's a Muslim god or the Hindus or a Christian, they wouldn't even want to leave. Like if they believed in their gods, if they really believed in whatever their religion is, they would just stay right where they are. They wouldn't feel this need to come out to the West or whatever they're doing. But there's lots of factors. Like they destabilize the third world, and then they cause the third world countries to want to emigrate, and then they open the borders in the West to cause those people to come here. But at the same time, all of it is just part of their bigger plan. Is just like Muslims do want to conquer, kind of, but I think this is the other thing too. Like, I guess I don't know, man. If they didn't, let's say America and Canada and these Western countries never allowed them to come here, right? They just never start. Like they used to have this immigration policy of only whites, basically, right? Now they changed it to like basically non-racist or whatever they want to say, right? So now, yeah, it's in their tenets with TENETS, but yeah, you're right. But most of them don't think about that stuff, you know. They're not into that, man. They're not trying to take over the world. They just want to have a normal life. But like, I'm not saying like if you let enough of them into your country, they're gonna start demanding changes, demanding certain like of their religious things to be allowed, change the holidays or whatever. But what I'm saying though is that if you just leave them in their countries, they're not gonna start any trouble. Iran is not gonna invade anyone, you know. Like where they were living, they're not going to start wars and all this stuff, you know. It's only because of Israel that they started becoming a problem, you know. They were never a problem before. When the Ottomans ruled all that stuff, they weren't a problem. Those Middle Eastern people, you know, they were just a problem within their little Ottoman Empire, I guess, but not really, because the Ottomans kind of kept everything under control. But now they're a problem because you're letting them into these other countries where they don't fit in, and then they're trying to change things to make it into their worldview, you know. Like Muslims, like people try to blame like the war in Israel on Islam, but like I was saying to you guys when you were listening to the thing about the Palestine thing, like they lived in peace with the Jews for hundreds of years. Thousands of years, you know, before. Exactly. That's the thing. They let all, even me, like even all of us, like all the immigrants from third world countries that they bring into these white countries, right? They're doing it for a reason, and they destabilize those countries to push people into these countries. They do that for a reason. They do that on purpose, you know. Everything is by design, and it's like an old plan. But it's not. But with these people, they try to like give us all this dumb thing, man. Yeah, a lot of hate against Indians. You know, I was gonna show you this Indian. Let me show you this guy. So you guys seen this? Look, this guy's a workie. They're just trying to program you. Okay, let me show you this other YouTuber. What's his name? Oh, critical. Because I started watching MMA YouTubers, right? And this guy, I used to watch this guy sometimes, whatever. He's got some interesting opinions. Then, as soon as that Indian hate with Elon went off, you know the thing with the Indian, with the look at this guy's symbol, dude. Look at this guy's symbol, bro. So this guy, I used to watch this guy, and then as soon as the thing happened with Elon and the Indians, right? And then there was all this anti-Indian stuff online because of Elon and the what do you call that thing? The WB program or whatever. So then this guy started making all these videos against Indians, specifically against Indians. And I was just watching this guy like a YouTuber guy. I didn't even see his logo. I didn't even know about it. Now I know what it is. Now I know he's obviously the H1B. Thank you. So look at this. The Jeepocalypse. The Jeepocalypse. He was just made one video after another against Indian people. As soon as that H1B thing happened with Elon, he started going off on it. But this guy is clearly a shill, because you can see, obviously, you can see his thing, right? Then when I start commenting on his videos, right? This guy, right? I start commenting on the videos, he would leave it. And then I said, hey, you're obviously a shill, because then I noticed his logo. So I was like, oh, you're obviously a shill. Because first I was just commenting like, hey, all your opinions are so low IQ, you don't understand anything. What are you doing? Then he would just leave those. But then as soon as I said that, I saw his logo and I was like, oh, you're a shill. And then he erased my comment. Then I never bothered with him for a while. Then the other day I saw one of his streams. He was on a stream. So I go on his stream and he's talking bad about Indians again. So I just go, hey, by the way, you're talking about how Indians are taking over Ireland, but Indians are only 2% of Ireland's population. What are you talking about? He starts talking to me like interacting with me. People in the live are interacting with me. Then I said that he's a shill, and he immediately censored me. You know? So this guy's an uber shill, but like he was talking about this Bryce Mitchell interview too.
All right, everyone, it's your boy Critical
Hey, look,
MMA.
Look. A lot of things this person says, but by the way, look at the purple background. See this? That's what they do, man. So this guy's an agent, but I just want to tell you, like, a lot of the racism stuff you see online is like, they do this on purpose. They set it up, you know. But Indians are super annoying. I'm not saying they aren't, but especially when they come and try to push their Hindu stuff in Canada and stuff. I hate it, right? But I'm just saying, the stuff this guy says is weird. But now he's going to talk about, okay, so he's going to talk about the Bryce Mitchell interview with MMA Guru.
Really busy recently, but I had to make this video. I saw Bryce Mitchell on the MMA Guru. I didn't get to watch all the interview yet, but we're going to be doing a breakdown of some of the fighter points over the next week or so in the lead up to the Bryce Mitchell-Jean Silva fight. I watched about 2 minutes of that video. I had to pause it and make a video just to correct the record, okay? Because one of the first things Bryce said in the Guru interview is communism always follows from atheism. And I don't know, is he just being safe because Ari Emanuel is his big boss and he needs to be careful what he says.
So the reason why I think this guy's a shill is because he'll talk about how the event that shall not be denied, he'll talk about that and he'll say that it was denied, right? Or he'll deny it, but at the same time, he'll literally tell people to just vote in their election or whatever. Like I'm sorry, if you understand that event is not real, you should kind of get into more conspiracy stuff. You should kind of figure out that elections are fake. You know, and he's trying to say he has a genius level IQ, this guy, right? So I'm just like, dude, if you have a genius level IQ, and you know what he does too? He'll point out the direct things that you're supposed to, that all the like shill stuff, like he'll like explain the economy using a bunch of posts from 4chan, you know? He has a video like that where he just literally explains, he reads them a bunch of 4chan posts to explain to the people of his audience like the fiat currency system. You know what I'm trying to say? Which is, again, it's just like to program people to become these kind of internet weirdos, like that are just like right wing, you know. Anyway, you know who he did too. Anyway, let's see what he says.
Gonna have to correct Bryce Mitchell here on that point because the source of communism is not actually atheism, and I think if you look into it, you might find a lot of activity from people who on this channel we call Blue Jays, and sometimes often euphemistically referred to as hand rubbers. So in this video, I'm going to give you all a few details. And
yes, that's another thing. So Bryce Mitchell is saying, oh, atheism leads to communism. This guy's going to say, no, it's Judaism, right? But meanwhile, we know it's Satanism, and even he touches on the fact that Karl Marx was a Satanist, but he doesn't get into it. He barely scratches the surface of that, right? But Karl Marx used to write satanic poetry in college, like this historical evidence that Karl Marx was into Satanism and stuff, you know. But this guy's barely going to touch on it anyway. So that's what they do. So you have the people that the Bryce Mitchell is one type of gatekeeper. Like, okay, if people start realizing that the earth is flat and Hitler wasn't that bad, then they'll listen to Bryce. And some people will realize that Bryce doesn't get it. He thinks atheism causes communism. So they'll listen to this guy. And this guy will catch them, you know? Anyway. Hey, what's up, Crafty Val? How are you? God bless you.
So much more to get into. This is the abridged version, all right? So if you're eager to hear more on the topic, let me know. And once my preparation for travel and subsequent travel is done, we're going to get into it a lot more.
Oh, the other thing, you know the other thing this guy does? He'll complain about how like they're letting all these third worlders into Ireland, and Ireland's not going to be Irish anymore, and these third worlders are going to take over. And once again, I don't support all this third world immigration to the first world. I don't, right? However, he's claiming that like they're going to take over Ireland. It's just panic nonsense, right? Secondly, he's literally saying to his people that he's going to leave and go to South America and live there. And he's telling people like to do it like that's what people should do. As if like if you love your country and you think it's getting taken over by third worlders, why would you leave? Wouldn't you want to stay and help? Wouldn't you want to change things? You know? So it's just complete nonsense. So he's telling people to do the thing that will lead to the fall of Ireland, that will lead to the fall of Europe and stuff, you know? He's literally programming them with the wrong thing to do if you wanted to save your country, you know? So that's why this guy is clearly a shill, this purple wall and stuff.
Here on Critical IMMA. So, first of all,
hope you get some good homework done, Crafty Val.
The origin point that I wanted to get into, okay? You all know Karl Marx is the originator or the main originator of the ideas of communism, Marxism, and Marxian socialism more generally. Socialism itself is an ideology predates Marx and is more general, and that's why later we had National Socialism under the Austrian painter who Brass wanted to go fishing with, which is completely different to Marxian socialism, Marxism generally, and communism specifically. But the thing is, Zionism has a very, very close connection to the origin of communism. The man who was responsible for the creation of Zionism before Zionism wasn't a thing, Theodor Herzl, is the claimed father of Zionism. But before him, Moses Hess, one of the originators of the ideology of communism, of Marxian socialism, one of the three founders of the ideology of communism, who later his path diverged from that of Karl Marx and Engels. He went on to lay the foundations for what would later become Zionism. So before Theodor Herzl, there was Moses Hess, and Moses Hess's influence on Theodor Herzl is undeniable. I believe it was Moses Hess who first came up with the idea of having a homeland for the Blue Jay-ish people in Palestine. That's one of the foundational ideas of Zionism. And whereas Marx focused communism on class struggle, Moses Hess was much more in line with the ideology of the Austrian painter and the National Socialists who came much later in thinking that race, ethnicity, and nationality was primary. So literally, the origins of communism and the origins of Zionism are almost one and the same.
So, this whole idea, I do kind of sympathetic to the idea that race is real and that we shouldn't just act like there's no differences between the races and stuff, right? When people start getting into this thing of race is nationality and nationhood and all that stuff, right? You are kind of ignoring the Bible. The Bible is saying that God has created all men of one blood, right? And that we're all supposed to live in peace. But this guy's trying to say, no, don't worry about that. Get into politics and you gotta worry about all that. You shouldn't for us, I think for us, the solution is to trust in God and not worry about this stuff, right? For these people, or at least that's what he's trying to get his viewers to think, right? It's like, no, you have to worry about this. You have to worry about your nation becoming overrun by third worlders. At the same time, this guy's literally telling people that he's planning to leave Ireland, and he's telling them to go and leave Ireland, move to South America. That's what he's saying, you know, because he thinks Ireland's no good anymore. Like, if you really loved your country, right, wouldn't you want to stay there and fix it? Wouldn't you want to do that? So that's why I think, anyway, people are wicked, man. But anyway, the point is, with God, we don't have to worry about these things. With God, we just worry about what does God want. We trust in him, and he'll take care of all this other stuff.
Moses Hess had connections to the Rothschild family through Carol Mayer.
Yeah, totally. Me too. And I would like hate the Jews and all this stuff. If I was without Christianity, I would be I'd be really bad, man. I'd be really bad because I would have gone mental. Yeah.
Rothschild. Karl Marx was directly related to, well, maybe not directly, he was third cousin to Nathan Mayer de Rothschild, who funded Karl Marx throughout his life and his efforts as far as working on developing and perpetuating the ideology of communism. So I see the Rothschild family having a hand in the spread of both communism and Zionism. But specifically, communism was the ideology for the
by the way, the other thing is, like, so what they're going to do is, what he's telling you is kind of historically accurate in terms of the sort of mainstream understanding of history, right? So that's what he's going to explain to the people. And what he's saying is, you can look it up, it's basically true. But what they're not telling you is the fact that it's all a satanic plot. Zionism, communism, the notion that, you know, the whole idea, all these things are just, and even he's going to talk about Balfour in a minute, and Rothschild and Balfour, how they're linked up. He's not going to talk about how Balfour was part of that stupid dispensationalism thing and all that stuff, which is clearly, to me, shows that they're satanic too. Anyway.
For all non-Blue Jay nations, and Zionism is essentially ethno-nationalism for Blue Jays, and it later led to the founding of the nation state of Israel. And one of the main players responsible for the founding of Israel was Walter Rothschild. He was the main force behind the Balfour Declaration, which laid the foundations for the creation of the nation state of Israel. So we have, and like recently, I'm not happy at all with Keith Woods. I used to like Keith Woods a lot more, and recently I see him like counter signaling.
By the way, I hope if this guy ever watches this video, because I'm gonna post this video and put his stupid name in it and all this stuff, right? I just want to say, buddy, that this has nothing to do with the fact that you hate on Indians, and I could go through your stupid Indian videos and show how dumb you are on those too, how low IQ your takes are. Okay, so don't think that I'm doing this because you're hating on Indians. I'm simply doing this because you came up in our other conversation about Bryce Mitchell and MMA Guru, and I thought I'd show my viewers you, because you're such a joke. So don't get in your head that I'm. Anyway, whatever. Who cares? He's a shit.
Nationalism a lot. I see him constantly trying to undermine National Socialism with like really weak arguments. So anyone out there thinks Keith Woods will be willing to debate me, let him know. I'd debate Keith Woods, and I have a lot of things to point out as far as his disingenuousness recently, trying to undermine people who are leaning toward National Socialism. And I see him like trying to undermine different forms of nationalism, but more.
Yeah. Like this guy's trying to get people to believe and follow National Socialism. That's what we should do. That's what Ireland needs. Ireland needs to become National Socialists. That'll fix Ireland. You absolute idiots.
Kind of like hardline nationalism recently, disingenuously, and also trying to undermine Europa, the Last Battle. And I read through some of his critiques of Europa, the Last Battle, and there was one in particular that's perfectly in line with the content of this video that I take issue with, okay? Keith Woods claimed that Karl Marx was born Karl Marx, his name was always Karl Marx, and that he never had any other more Blue Jay name. So Karl Marx comes from a lineage of rabbis that goes back hundreds of years, and in this video we're going to take a look at some of the related details.
No, because Woods is probably right about that. I think Marx's father changed his name to Marx. I'm pretty sure that's why Keith Woods said that. But Woods is being deceptive too by not explaining that fact that Karl Marx's father changed his name and that they weren't named that. They had some Jewish name, you know what I mean? That's what this guy's going to talk about here. But I'm pretty sure Karl Marx was born Karl Marx. I don't think he was I think he was born by some other name, but his father changed their name to Marx, you know?
And we're going to check his source. But Keith Woods based that claim on literally nothing. He just pulled that claim out of his ass. He didn't provide.
No, I'm pretty sure they have because when Marx was born, right? He was baptized. Because although his father was born Jewish, his father converted to Christianity for job opportunities and stuff like that, and they changed their name. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'm not 100%, but anyway, whatever. Let's see.
Any argument to substantiate that claim. He didn't provide one source to substantiate that claim. But I had already read from a much better source, someone who I take much more seriously as an intellectual than Keith Woods, the absolute midwit, which he's proving himself a lot more recently. And frankly, Keith Woods is a subversive. Like recently, a lot of his writing amounts to him being a subversive little K bicycle trying to undermine nationalism and undermine, National Socialism specifically, historically, or the viability of anybody aligning themselves with that ideology in the present day. So recently, Keith Woods,
why would anybody want to align themselves with National Socialism? I guess he's like pretending to be like a normal person who has political opinions. I guess that's what he's trying to do. And so from his opinion is that National Socialism is a good idea, I guess. But anyway, I'm just telling you, these people, this is how they push certain ideologies online and in YouTube and stuff. Yeah.
L's all over the place. Boo, Keith Woods, and he's wrong a lot of the time. And I don't think he's being genuine. He's either misinformed or he's just being a manipulative, subversive little rodent. So anyway, the source who I got the information from initially, the Karl Marx was not born Karl Marx. That he was born, the given name he got when he was born was Moses Mordecai Levi Marx, okay? And that claim was made by Yuri Lina, someone who was born in Estonia. I believe they were under Soviet control at the time that he was born, and he was later expelled from his home and native land of Estonia by the Soviets. He was investigated by the KGB. He was writing anti-Soviet material since the 1960s, since he was a kid, since he was like, in his teens. And he later, like, I believe it was in 1979, he got expelled from Estonia and had to flee to Finland. So, like, if you look into the background of Yuri Lina, this dude is legit, way more legit than Keith Woods. And if you read his book, Under the Sign of the Scorpion, it is about the history of communism. The man lived under communism. The man was about, around 50 years old by the time this book was released. So he had an entire lifetime of studying communism, an ideology which he lived and suffered under. So anyway, Under the Sign of the Scorpion, one of the best books I've ever read on the history of communism, better than anything Keith Woods has written by a country mile, and very well sourced too. So we're going to take a look at an extract from Under the Sign of the Scorpion by Yuri Lina, just to prove Keith Woods wrong, and also to educate Bryce Mitchell on the origins of communism. No, it's not. Its origin is not in atheism, dude. And I don't know if you're just being safe saying that, but either way, you're wrong. So let's look at a little bit about Karl Marx here, and we're just going to see. And later in the video as well, the interview, the few minutes that I watched with Guru, and he also said that communism is interwoven with Satanism, and I agree with that claim wholeheartedly. But first of all, anyway, let's take a look at an extract from Under the Sign of the Scorpion by Yuri Lina, who I take much more seriously as an.
Jeez, so this is what they do. So look, now he's going to introduce you to some stupid book, some dumb book that this guy says, oh, it's by intellectual. This guy's more intellectual than Keith Woods. Keith Woods is a rodent. Listen to this guy. Read this book. This book is also dumb. You know what he was saying in this other video? He was talking about how that that guy David Irving. Have you ever heard of David Irving? He's a historian. He's a British historian who denied the event that shall not be denied, and then he got like kind of blacklisted or whatever. Poor Christ, I was one of those people who blame Jews for everything. Thank you, Jews. The Jews are just being manipulated by the devil too, and this guy's being manipulated by the devil too. But he's like literally a shell. He's like literally with a purple background with a one eye in his logo, and he thinks we're stupid. And he tries to show this is what I'm saying when I tell you about the way they promote certain ideas. He's trying to get people to read this dumb book, this stupid book, okay? Or this other thing he was saying like the stupid things this guy tries to get people to get into. Oh, did I tell you how he was using 4chan? He's trying to explain the world economy from 4chan posts. He's trying to act like he's some genius level IQ. That's what this guy's trying to do. He's telling his audience to read David Irving's dumb book. Oh, I read David Irving's book, so I know the Holocaust is fake. Like, shut up. Like, what? Are you retarded? Anyway, so this guy's clearly a shell. Clearly. Okay, I don't care if he's got a small channel. It's obviously what they're doing. And even the number of subscribers these people have, it's probably fake too.
Is an intellectual, then midwit subversive Keith Woods, who's trying to undermine nationalism recently way too much and disingenuously.
That's true. One Eye and the Octagon, because the Octagon is also one of their things too. The Octagon is like represents the what do you call it? The Tesseract, you know, the four-dimensional cube, the four-dimensional.
Midwit subversive Keith Woods, who's trying to undermine nationalism recently way too much and disingenuously. And recently, I just don't like that guy because of the BS he's coming out with like constantly.
See, he just did it. He did that six. He did that six thing.
Then midwit subversive Keith Woods, who's trying to undermine nationalism recently way too much and disingenuously. And recently, I just
maybe he didn't, but he does that sometimes.
Just
too,
don't
anyway.
like that guy because of the BS he's coming
Oh,
out
he
with.
did. He did it
much and disingenuously. And recently, I just don't like that guy because of the BS.
Look, see that? See, oh, there. Let me just slow this down. I gotta show you this. Wow. Oh, I don't like Keith Woods. This is what they do. They'll when they say the lie, then they'll push the thing. See?
Yeah, I just don't like that guy because of the.
But he's gonna like. Watch what happens here. There's like a cut. There's like some kind of cut here. I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe no cut. But anyway, he did this symbol when he said, "I don't like that guy. I don't like Keith Woods." That's when he did the hand sign, right? It's because Keith Woods is obviously a shill as well. So in order to preserve the idea that they're not like in beef, they do stuff like that, you know. Anyway.
Yes, he's coming out with like constantly. So anyway, let us see where we are. Oh no, this is the wrong source. That's something we're going to get into in a little while, actually. So first of all, pardon me. And I need to like switch my layers. Pardon me. So, okay, here we are.
See, look. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. All right. If you want to research history, you want to find out about history, you don't read these books. These books are stupid. Or you can look. You can check it out. I'm not saying don't check it out. Check it out, but don't like this guy's trying to recommend it like it's some like it's like, oh, this is where you get the real facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure there's probably some good information in here, but a lot of it is going to be misinformation too. But this guy's just recommending it. Like, go read it. Read this, guys. But these people, like, this guy claims that he has a genius level IQ. Nobody with that level of IQ would be so dumb as to think that this stupid book is like a legit way to understand the world. You know? I'm not saying nothing in this book is true. I'm not saying it's all completely dumb, but probably it is, or a lot of it. Like this is dumb, man. Karl Marx, Evil's Idol, and you see how the way it's like. See how the way it's printed? It's because it's like one of these like off like the presses. Like it's like one of these like self-published stupid books you find online and stuff. You know. Anyway.
Video capture. So. On Karl Marx, right? And this is from Under the Sign of the Scorpion by Yuri Lina, someone of far greater intellectual worth than Keith Woods is likely to ever be. So, all right, this section is called Karl Marx, Evil's Idol. So, on the 5th of May, 1818, in the German town of Trier, a baby boy was born and given the name Moses Mordecai Levi Marx, who would later be called Karl Marx. In his early youth, he became known as a Christian.
So like, look, that's what he's trying to say, right? He's trying to say that because this book said this, and he for some reason this idiot thinks that this person who wrote this dumb book is smarter than Keith Woods or whatever he was saying, right? He's trying to tell you that you should just believe that. Just believe that that's what Marx's name was when he was born. You know? That's what his name was, guys, because this stupid book said so. Is that what his name was? Why would I believe this? This is no reference here. There's no kind of like proof of anything. No kind of like, oh, here's a photograph of his birth certificate. Here's the I saw, you know what? Back in the day, man, I can't remember. I saw this thing. It was like the baptism certificate from this Lutheran church in Trier. I think it was in Trier. I don't even know actually. But anyway, I swear I've seen Karl Marx's baptism certificate. It doesn't say this. But this is what these people do. You know how dumb this is to just believe that? You just believe that this thing says this. Who cares? Like, why would that make me believe that? Wouldn't you have to have some other evidence? You know? Anyway.
His father actually converted to Christianity solely because I believe it was, in Germany at the time, Blue Jays were not allowed to practice law. So he had to convert to Christianity so he could practice law. He later became a Supreme Justice of the High Court in Germany. So very powerful, and we'll see in a subsequent.
Okay. So now this guy's saying that he was only baptized in 1824 at 6 years of age. You know what? I remember seeing this in a book, man. And I gotta find this thing, you know, because I remember seeing like a copy of his baptismal certificate or something like that. Maybe it was this book. Maybe it was this Richard Loeffler. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find this out. But anyway, it's dumb to just believe this dumb book just because this thing said so.
Article, we're going to take a look at the lineage of very powerful, very wealthy rabbis that Marx's father came from, and Marx followed on the lineage from. And Marx's brother as well became, a high-ranking rabbi. His grandfather before his father was a very high-ranking rabbi as well. And there's a lineage of hundreds of years of rabbinical tradition in the Levi lineage, which later became the Marx lineage, solely due to his father needing to become a crypto Blue Jay so he could practice law in Germany at the time and gain the level of high status that he did subsequently. So, was given the name Moses Mordecai Levi. In his early youth, he became known as a Christian. His father, Herschel Levi Marx, Justice of the Supreme Court, had opportunistically converted to Christianity in 1816. You can look into this in detail as well. There's a lot of details surrounding the background of Marx, his family, and his lineage. So Keith Woods claiming, that the claims from Uri Linna's book were untrue and based on nothing while he's trying to undermine Europe at the last battle. Based on nothing, midwit. How about you base your arguments on something of substance, you little rodent? Had opportunistically converted to Christianity. Yes, Herschel's father was a famous chief rabbi in Cologne. His father-in-law was also a rabbi. So like his entire family, both sides, lineage of very powerful rabbis. The historian Richard Loeffler, oh look, providing a source, unlike Keith Woods, proved in 1975 that Karl Marx was not born into a Christian family, as they had secretly kept their Blue Jay faith. This is why he was given a Mosaic name just after his birth. Moses Mordecai Levi was only baptized in 1824 at 6 years of age, and then given the Christian name Karl Heinrich. Okay, so look, someone's given sources, someone's given details, unlike Keith Woods apparently is able to when he's trying to undermine Europa the last battle.
Wait, what sources? What are you talking about? There's no sources here. This guy, I mean, you're reading this book, which is not, this guy's not some historian. This is just some weird internet book. What are you talking about? What do you mean you're giving us sources? What is this guy doing, man? Who is this guy? I'm going to find out about this guy too. Under the sign of the scorpion. What a joke. What a complete joke.
Claims based on nothing. Young Marx went to a Jesuit school, which had been restructured as a secular high school. At the same time, he went to a Talmudic school, where he learned that the Blue Jays must rule the world, as it says in the Talmud. Bernard Lezana, 1865 to 1903, a well-known functionary and publicist within Blue Jayism, confirmed that Marx had been affected by Talmudism. And there's a lot here that we can read in subsequent videos. I'm just not going to get into it today because I just don't have a lot of time and I need to prepare for travel and I need to travel soon. So hold on, there were a couple of things. Oh, I think I need to skip it now. Hold on. There is just like evidence here that Marx literally claimed himself that he had made deals with the devil, or like his fascination with Satan. And he had, this is from one of his poems here. That art God neither wants nor wists, it leaps to the brain from hell's black mists. Till hearts bewitched, till senses reel, with Satan I have struck my deal. And there's more analysis of his poetry as well, which shows like real strange fascinations with Satan, with Luciferianism, with the worship of the devil, that show a clear.
Yeah, see, so he's touching on this stuff, right? Because I think this book goes into that stuff, which is like there's some historical evidence that Marx wrote some poetry about Satanism and like other pretty dark stuff when he was in college. And so this guy is probably touching on this stuff in this dumb book, and then this guy's talking about it. But that's the reality of communism and also Zionism, you know, and also probably dispensationalism. But this, But this guy he's just gonna act like, oh, that's not what you need to focus on. Focus on the fact that he's a Jew and Jews, the Jews are trying to get you and all this stuff, you know?
It's more analysis of his poetry as well, which shows like real strange fascinations with Satan, with Luciferianism, with the worship of the devil, that show a clear, concise contempt for humanity. So we'll get into this if you want to. Let me know in the comment section if you want to get into this in greater detail. I'm going to be doing a lot related to this sort of thing and the lead up to Bryce Mitchell's fight with John Silva, because it's kind of topically relevant. And I just wanted to correct Bryce as far as saying that the origin point of communism is always atheism. No, it isn't, dude. But on the point of you saying that it's connected to Luciferianism, Satanism, well, who are the synagogue of Satan? Okay, I wanted to substantiate that. And there's way more that I'm...
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the issue, right? Like, was it because did he write some poems in university because he was being an edgy nerd, or was it because he actually did believe in Satanism, you know? But I think it's possible he was an edgelord in college and then he got recruited into actual Satanism. That's also possible too, you know? Because he didn't continue to write about that stuff after, but he wrote about a very satanic ideology, which is communism, you know? But not to say that capitalism in its forms isn't satanic in its own way as well, you know?
That I'm skipping here because I'm just short on time today. But I wanted to flame Keith Woods. I wanted to correct Bryce Mitchell. Literally within the first 2 minutes of Bryce's Guru interview, I had to stop it and I was like, whoa. We need some corrections here, right, everybody? And I need to get on this quick while it's still relevant. But we can dig a little deeper later, okay? Let me know if you're interested in that. And there's just
yeah, I mean, his is like almost guaranteed to be a show. Anyway, so forget about this part. He talks about some interesting stuff here, which gets into the this is the family tree of Marx, all right? So this is kind of interesting stuff. I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I mean, I was aware of this, but it's interesting that he has a little diagram here, which is kind of cool. So, hang on. So, okay. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Let me try to make this bigger. So Baron Cohen of Amsterdam, he was like this big time Jewish money man, okay? And then he was married to somebody we don't know. All right, and then this family's came down. Oh, I gotta move forward in this thing. So then this is Nathan Meyer Rothschild. He married this person. This person is one of Karl Marx's cousins. Nathan Meyer Rothschild was one of the heads of that family, okay? And then anyway, maybe I should just make it smaller. So this is Marx. So Marx's mother was cousins with this person who married Mayor Rothschild. So they're like distantly related, you know? And they probably did know each other and stuff, you know? All right, good night, brother. I'm gonna go to bed too, man, you guys. I'm sorry, it's getting late. I didn't realize how late it is. Anyway, I just wanted to talk to you about Karl Marx is related to the Rothschilds, okay? It's kind of distant, but it's definitely worth noting, all right? And I'm gonna leave it there too, you guys, because I didn't realize how late it was, okay? Oh, you're welcome, brother. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right, God bless you, brother. God bless everybody. And let me see. And thanks for watching Toronto Bible Study. Hallelujah.
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike, Sam, Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shields. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Coming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike Sam Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.